I mean, and the ability to have, artificial intelligence mislead you.
There's a guy, I talked to this guy the other day. He's written 97 books in 5 months using AI.
They had an AI system at the CIA where you could talk to it and ask it questions and it would look things up. And I think by taking responsibility, you gain credibility. Almost everybody that ever fails really big, it's because they're surrounding themselves by yes men.
I was like playing with different types of shorts on my channel.
Right.
And the shorts that are doing the best are 10 seconds long.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
10 seconds.
So sad.
Isn't it though? It's like where our attention span's going to be in 5 years. Like if you can keep someone's attention for 1 second, you're gold. You're going viral, right?
Well, it used to be when I grew up, it was, politicians were trying to sum things up in sound bites, right? Like you need to be able to say it in less than 30 seconds, right? Or the 30-second elevator pitch. Like you don't even have that anymore. You've got 3 or 4 seconds to get someone's enough of their attention to buy another 5 seconds. And maybe you get another 5 seconds. I mean, that's just like, I don't know how you can accomplish anything like that. Or,
you know what's interesting? Because we have this idea that it's the young generation that has no attention span. But I was looking at my YouTube analytics the other day, and my shorts are doing well with the young generation, but they're also doing well with 65 and over. So I'm like, 65 and over is exactly their attention spans. It's like the premium for the long form content is like that 25 to 45. Like these are the people that are, shout out to all my 45-year-olds out there that are watching long form content. But like as soon as you get past 45, it's like your attention span's like boop. It's all shorts.
I was gonna say our analytics for YouTube is between 25 and 55.
Yeah,
or 54. You know how it jumps. So yeah, 25. So that'd be the sweet spot for me. I'm getting what you're missing.
Right. So. Well, it's like a combination of the grades. And, so I also start to wonder, AI has just been so fascinating to me. It completely changed my podcast business. And, I wonder what these implicate. As soon as I started saving like 60% to my bottom line, I was like, hey, I'm in. AI is interesting. This is exciting. But there's all these scams. Right. They're prevalent. And the problem is if you have a short attention span, are you really going to do your due diligence on a fake AI short? I'll give you a perfect example. Just this past week or a couple of weeks ago, there was this deepfake. There were deepfakes that came out of Mr. Beast endorsing the iPhone 15. He said, hey, y'all, Mr. Beast here. If you want an iPhone for $2, click the link below. It wasn't Mr. Beast.
Right.
It was a deepfake. They'd put Mr. Beast face, Mr. Beast voice over someone saying this. And he goes to Twitter and he's like, y'all, that wasn't me. But the damage has been done.
Right. Yeah. It's everywhere by now. Like if it goes, well, if it's Mr. Beast and it's been up for even an hour or two, it's over. It's gotten hundreds of thousands of views.
And they're so good with it. Like this went super viral on TikTok and it looked like Mr. Beast. It looked like his profile. They even put like a blue check mark at the end of the name. I don't know if you've seen that where it's like Mr. Beast with like a blue check mark emoji. So it's not really a very...
But you see the blue and you assume it's, yeah.
Exactly. If you're not like trained to see that verification, it's almost impossible to catch.
I was gonna say on Instagram, anybody can get a check mark now. So it's not even worth, to me, it's not even worth getting it then. Does that make sense? Like
yeah.
If I can pay what is it, $15 a month or something?
Right.
So if anybody can pay $15 a month to just get the check mark, then it doesn't.
Well, it kind of loses the social clout.
Right.
But it does,
Not
I think, help to, it does help to validate that this person is real, unless, like we said, if you're not trained to say, okay, the blue check mark is on the right side, it's not real. If it's on the left side, it is real. It's just like, how many people are actually that plugged in?
Right.
Not that many. By the way, another deepfake that went huge is the Tom Hanks dental scam.
What's that?
Same thing. There was an advertisement for this dental plan that Tom Hanks, quote unquote, had endorsed. They used deepfake technology to mimic his voice, to mimic his face. And all of a sudden, Tom Hanks shows up on your Instagram or TikTok profile saying, hey, buy my dental plan. I'm Tom Hanks. You can have great teeth like me. He never said it.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm just wondering how. Well, it's like Colby was just saying with his parents. It's so when Facebook. Do you remember the ones with Facebook where somebody would contact you? They would create obviously they create a fake page, and then they add all of your friends, and then they come and they contact you and say, listen, I'm out of the country. Like this happened to my mom, a few times. Like some friend of hers was out of the country. I'm in Budapest, or what, my wallet and passport were stolen. I need X amount of dollars. Can you send me $1,000? I'll give it to you, back as soon as I get back into the States. And she's about to send him the money.
Yeah.
Because one, at that point, this was 10, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, she's in her 60s at that point, or 70s. So what happens now with AI, just like Colby was saying, when that same person calls you up and says the same thing, only it's their voice. If you were questioning it before, you're not going to question it at all now, because it's AI and it's that person's voice, and they're like, oh, hey, Margaret, it's me, Jennifer. You're not going to believe this. I'm in Budapest and I lost my wallet and it was stolen. Can you please Western Union me $1,000? And of course.
Right. You need to have like a safe word. Me and my family have like a code word. So I'm not going to say it live in front of tens of thousands of people, but we have a code word to catch that, because it's so easy to create. You can go to levinlabs.io. You upload just a few minutes of your voice, and it's going to replicate your voice shockingly well. You can make someone say anything.
I was going to say, I was talking to Boziak, my buddy Boziak, about this. Because listen, I can barely read, right? Like you can't, like I couldn't even narrate my own book. I mean, I had somebody do it, because it would take me so long. You don't want to hear me read. I read horribly. And I thought, what would be cool to start a YouTube channel and just go and get true crime articles from Wired magazine, Forbes magazine, Fortune magazine. Well, I guess Forbes doesn't do them, but Fortune magazine does them. Is there still Fortune magazine? It's got to be Fortune.
I'm pretty sure. Fortune, yeah.
Rolling Stone. All of these magazines just do true crime articles. And it takes about an hour to an hour and a half to read one, right? And just get my voice cloned. Start the video off with, hey, I got a great, article, or no, not even an article. You just say, hey, I got a great story. Got a great story. It's about such and such. I found it in whatever magazine, blah, blah, blah. It was written by so-and-so. So I think, no, you guys are going to love it. And then just start reading start saying the article, and then jump to B-roll and so for the next hour and a half, it's my voice reading the article.
Yeah.
For an hour and a half with B-roll, and then at the very end going, I hope you liked it. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. How easy would that be to just start a whole YouTube? And granted, you're taking this stuff and you're putting it on there, but you're not going to get, I don't think you're going to get a copyright strike, because I've actually had people read articles of mine and put them on my channel, and I never got a copyright strike. So if it was me doing it, you could do a whole channel based on that.
Well, and the rules are obviously always changing, which is why it's important that you work with people like yourself who understand, okay, that the rules have changed. And frankly, the stuff isn't catching up fast enough. Right. These scams are coming out every single day. There's something new that pops up. But I do love that idea. I mean, even ChatGPT-4 can summarize videos immediately. Like, you don't have to watch a 3-hour Joe Rogan episode.
You could probably dump those articles into ChatGPT and ask it to rewrite it.
You absolutely can. I'll you, this is, I'm more focused on business and marketing and how can I create collaboration. So this is a really simple process that you can do. So I hire a VA. We create a Google form that asks simple questions, right? Our goal here is to target CEOs, collaborate with CEOs, and find ways to generate, relationships that are going to generate profit, right? Favor for a favor type of thing. Right. So we create a Google form that says, what's your name? What's your email? What's your phone number? What's your website? What company do you work for? What are your, give us a quick 3 takeaways to some questions like, how are you using AI? How are you solving this problem? How are you solving that problem? We send it to CEOs at scale. So Hire VA sends out this form to hundreds and hundreds of CEOs, right? You go to LinkedIn Premium, really easy way to connect, right? So you send out this form. As soon as the CEOs fill out that form, it gets sent to ChatGPT automatically using Zapier. So use Zapier to connect the Google form to ChatGPT. ChatGPT writes out the entire article for you automatically.
Right.
And then we just copy and paste that into WordPress. We tag them and say, hey, your episode's live. And then you set them up because you have their email, you have their phone number. Now you can set them up into a automation where you're nurturing the relationship. You can ask for favors. Now you've given them a favor, so it opens up that doorway. So you can easily incorporate ChatGPT's open AI.
So you're creating an entire relationship that you had nothing to do with.
Exactly. Right? Well, now you have content for your website.
Right.
There's a guy, I talked to this guy the other day. He's written 97 books in 5 months using AI.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
He's making thousands of dollars.
I know. That's, that bothers me. For somebody who's written a bunch of books,
sure.
know? And I actually wrote. So I went to CrimeCon and wrote an article. So Tyler said, hey, you have to write an article on CrimeCon. I was like, oh my God. So let me think about this. So I had ChatGPT write the article for me. And now what I'm going to do is go through and I'm going to get quotes from people and I'm just going to edit the article. So, when it talks about, Podcast Row and these different true crime podcasts, now all I have to do is call up a few of the people that I did talk to and say, hey, can I get a quote from this about your podcast or what you thought of CrimeCon? They'll throw it in there and I'll say, so-and-so said this, and throw a few quotes in there and really kind of turn that article and make that article mine. But how much easier is that than actually writing a 2,000-word article?
Oh, it's crazy
right.
easy.
It turns it into takes it from a 10-hour project and turns it into
a 10-minute.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like when we finish recording podcasts, we use a program called Cast Magic. There's a few, but we use this program called Cast Magic, which takes all of that audio and creates tons of written words, everything from blog articles to social media posts to emails to show notes to descriptions. You can even add different prompts. So, for example, if you said, hey, write me a 1,000-word blog article or an introduction to a book or something like that, it can do that like very easily. Very easily. They're even working, I can't spoil it, but they're working on some automations and integrations to other platforms. My obsession is kind of how do we automate the entire podcast process, like from start to finish. You send the invite, you record it, everything is automated from producing it on the RSS feed to the YouTube, to the description, to the titles, to the keywords. That's kind of like my obsession. But I think we also need to be really careful about using AI on autopilot.
Right.
I don't know if you heard this. There was this case. It just blew my mind. There was an attorney in New York. He's suing these airline for personal injuries. That one of his clients got injured. He's going to sue this airline. Right. So he has one of his assistants. Actually, not an assistant. One of his partners at the law firm who has 30 years of experience. This is not like a newbie. This is a seasoned attorney. And he's doing research and he's using ChatGPT to do research. So ChatGPT is giving him all this case law because they want to set precedent. This is why you should pay us because this is what's happened in the past. Right. So ChatGPT is writing out all these cases and he goes to ChatGPT and he says, hey, is this real? Were these legit cases? And ChatGPT is like, yes, we referenced LexisNexis. We referenced Westlaw. These are legit. So he's like, okay, good enough for me.
Right.
Go to court, present it to the judge, and the judge is like, this is all bogus. They cited 6 fake cases, fake precedent, fake quotes. It was all fake. And so...
Why did ChatGPT misled him or lied to him? Or what did
it told him that these are real cases. I mean, maybe real in its own mind, but these cases did not happen. 6 cases.
Instead of verifying it, like he should have gone and said, okay, well, let me look the case up just to make sure.
Yeah, you should have sent it to one of his legal assistants to actually go back and validate and verify the findings. But they didn't.
Man, how bad did he look?
Not good. But I mean, I think it's a good lesson for us. It's a good lesson for us, if we're using these tools, we got to do our due diligence, especially before we present it in front of a judge in court.
Right.
You're speaking of judges in court, we're talking a little bit about audio, being fake audio. I don't think you're going to be able to use audio in court anymore. Right. Because how easily can I manipulate your voice into saying something you didn't say, present it in court and say, hey, like we'll take Trump, for example, right? You may have heard of the guy. He's under indictments in like 100 different places and 100 different, who knows? By the time this goes live, he might be indicted in every country in the world for for God knows what.
He might have beat them all too.
He might have. But there's this one recording of him talking about classified documents and whatnot. I would not be surprised if he goes in front of the court and he said, I never said that. I didn't say it.
Right.
This is AI generated.
Right.
Who's going to tell him it's not?
Right. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Hilarious. Remember we interviewed Andrew Bustamante, and he was talking about how, like, when 10 years ago, they had an AI system at the CIA where you could talk to it and ask it questions and it would look things up. And I was going to say, what if I can imagine that CIA already has, something where they'll create an entire wire. It seems like it's a wire, or like they were, recording a phone call, but really it's all AI generated.
Sure.
And then you can turn. Oh, wow, that's spooky.
Or maybe the context. Maybe it's like 95% you actually said it, but they just put in like one or two words that make it almost indistinguishable.
Yeah,
and how are you going to
editing.
remember?
Yeah.
I was watching Game of Thrones, and there's like Littlefinger, one of the characters, like said something in the first season. He says like chaos is a ladder, right? And then in like season 6, one of the, like, Brandon Stark, the spoiler here, Brandon Stark, who turns into, like, he can see everything everywhere all the time. He says to him in a quote, chaos is a ladder, like calling him out, like, I know what you said. And Littlefinger's like, oh, you got me. I don't remember what I said yesterday, let alone 6 seasons ago.
Right.
So how would you say, like, I never said that? It's just it's gonna come down to everyone saying, I didn't say that, or I did say that. How are you gonna know what's real?
Dude, the system's so fucked up already. Yeah.
There's no way that you're going to be able to validate what's real or what's not. There's just no way. And so what it's going to end up coming down to is, like, whatever you think is real is going to be real. Whatever you don't think is real will be real. I'll give you another example. This just happened a few days ago. Israel and Palestine.
I was going to say, isn't that already the way it is? Like, people put stuff out there, and if you say it long enough and loud enough, then people will think that that's the truth.
Sure. But at least you can say, well, here's the video.
Right.
Here's the photo.
Well, now they can say, and here's the video, and here's the audio. And it's all fake. But if you put it out there long enough, there's so many things that are like that. It's like the history is written by the victors, like,
right.
What really happened and what the history books happen and what goes down, in history doesn't necessarily mean that's what happened.
But I hate.
You were saying the Palestine thing.
Well, yeah, because gaslighting is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Say, don't believe your lying eyes because, but I can see the video. I know that didn't happen. That did happen.
Right.
But now I can't believe my lying eyes, so to speak, Like, so in Israel and Palestine, Ben Shapiro released this photo, a horrible photo of this burnt child, right? Burnt child. It was released by the Israeli government. He posted it. It's gotten hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of views.
Right.
And then this other journalist, I want to say Michael Jackson, but I know it's not Michael Jackson. Anyway, this other journalist comes out and says, holy crap.
Took that photo 40 years ago.
Well, he says this is AI generated. He used this program called AIorNot.com, which essentially what you do is you upload photos and it tells you whether it's AI generated or not.
Okay.
And he says, holy crap, I uploaded it and it's not real. Well, it turns out that AIorNot.com is not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
So it still leads to the question of, so you've got half of the population saying it is real. It actually happened. This is a real photo. And then half the population is saying it's not.
Right.
How is there any way to know? There's any way to know. And you might say, oh, well, they'll figure it out. But we've got, how long is that going to take?
Well, you figure out by finding out who actually took the photograph too. Like, who was the photographer? What was the source? Where did it come from? Was it just something that Ben Shapiro found online and, screenshotted it and said, hey, this is what this is, or, this is what the caption says, so I'm going with it because it was on Google, or did he actually get it from the photographer that was, whatever, in Israel and took the photograph?
Right.
So, you have to figure out how to verify those things.
Well, and it's really hard too, because like one media outlet, I don't know, let's say the New York Times posts something and then 10 other news outlets run with that and then they post it and then 100 more.
That's true.
And the New York Times, maybe they make a redaction in a week. They say, yeah, you know what? Turns out that was AI generated. Are all of those hundreds, if not thousands of people that have news sites that have cited that going to go back and say, and redact?
They don't do that when they don't do that when they've actually really majorly made a mistake. It'll be on page 5. It'll be a little tiny blurb. Oh, by the way, last month we said this and that wasn't true.
Right.
So if they don't want to do it when it's them specifically saying something that's incorrect, they're certainly not going to say it if they borrowed it or found it from another news organization. They're not going to take responsibility. Nobody wants to take responsibility anymore.
Look, how much work does it take? I mean, quite frankly, a day later, it's old news. Nobody cares anymore because it's on to the next thing.
Well, I think by taking responsibility, you gain credibility. By ignoring, by saying things and then just ignoring it, you lose credibility by not saying, hey, I messed up. This was a mistake. This is what I did. That was wrong. Here's how it happened. You could explain, here's how it happened. And when I was wrong by going to that source, I should have double checked it. I should have vetted it myself. I didn't. That was a mistake. Like, you gain credibility because then from now on, when you say something, people think, look, either it's probably true. And if it's not true, they'll definitely tell me it's not true because they take pride in that. But now what they do is they just ignore it.
Yeah.
You say nothing. You just move forward with the news and you think, well, they'll forget about it. And the problem is now you do forget about it. Within 2 weeks, like you said, nobody remembers.
Yeah. It's a real problem. But we're definitely running into this phase of humanity where, I mean, I think this has always been true that your credibility is important, but now I think more so than ever because there's going to be trusted news sources. There's going to be untrusted. Frankly, that's I think why podcasting and media has become so big because nobody trusts big media anymore. It's like you continue to gaslight us. You release videos saying these are mostly peaceful protests with a giant fire raging in the background. It's like,
what have you seen? Have you seen that video where they've got all those news stations saying the exact same thing?
Right.
I mean, 30, 40, 50. It's like, so you're telling me that you're not getting your marching orders from somebody? Like, oh, no, we independently. No. There are certain stories you get your marching orders on. And I know this because when I was locked up, and I started doing research on cases. Like, let's say I was writing your story and you're a criminal, and I ordered a bunch. Of course, I ordered the Freedom of Information, everything else. But I would get the U.S. attorney would put out a press release, and then the following day, I would get a bunch of articles in. So it's like, okay, well, this is dated on the 3rd, and then on the 4th, these 15 or 5 or 10 articles came out, and well, they're almost identical to this. And I started noticing that unless it was a massively huge case, if it was just a small case, well, not a small case, for them to release a press release, it has to be a semi-big case, but there's tons of big cases. I would notice, I'm like, the only difference, like, this is a consolidated version of this.
Yeah.
And this article is a larger version of this, but it's got a few quotes in it. So they made this guy made some calls, 2 calls, and this one, they're really just expanding on this, but probably just called the U.S. attorney. Like, they didn't do any research. It's all their marching orders are the press release issued by the U.S. government.
Just the talking points.
Right. And so to me, and maybe you have a larger one where they went and they did their own research, found another article from 2 months earlier, and maybe added a few of the details in from that one just by saying, like, this investigation was started 3 months ago when this happened. And then they include they're not doing anything. They're rewriting the basic articles, and sometimes they're not even changing anything. Because the truth is that if the press release is put out by the federal government, then it's fair game. Yeah. I can pull almost verbatim from it. I don't even have to rewrite it.
Are they being transparent about it at least?
No, they don't say anything. They just regurgitate what was already said in a slightly different way. That, hey, there was, 17 people were arrested in a massive, Ponzi scheme connected to Bitcoin. Like, it's literally like they don't know anything that wasn't in this. And they say the whole thing, and you'll have 8 or 10 different articles that are all taken from here. Nobody's done anything. And so now when you go and you look, now what happens if this guy was found not guilty? There's no press release put out about him being found not guilty, or half the charges being dropped, and he pleads guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and gets a year. Like that initial press release makes it sound like he's going to do. He's looking at 90 years. He's an arch criminal. Well, what happens when the guy pleads guilty to 1 count of wire fraud 8 months later, and does 6 months in jail because he lied on some form, then he's done. Like, it's over. But that nobody's doing any real investigative work anymore. It has to be dropped. A lot of the stories that are major investigative works are being done by people that aren't even journalists. Does that make sense? Like, they do it on the side.
Well, so I have a real problem with that in and of itself, the quote unquote real journalist. Like, right. I get this online where people are like, well, you didn't get a degree for journalism, so who validates?
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. You don't have to. I mean, there's no real. When I say real journalist, I mean like somebody who that's like their full-time job is like they write newspaper articles, they write for magazines, like that's their full-time job. But a lot of stuff is done by some guy who works at Home Depot, and on the side, he's looking into this weird thing, and he's making some phone calls, and before you know it, he puts together an article, and he's got an article written, or he posts it on a blog, and then that blog or that article ends up some other journalist comes in and they grab it and it ends up in the newspaper. Well, nobody was looking into this before.
Yeah,
this guy is the one who stumbled onto it and gathered all the information and ordered the Freedom of Information Act and put it all together, and then somebody else picks it up and runs with it. But I mean, there's so many things that are just incorrect that are out there and being propagated.
Well, so this is there's this idea that like that there's all these conspiracy theories. The problem is the conspiracy theories start to come true and hold themselves true. Then you start to be like, well, maybe there is some validity to that guy at Home Depot who was just doing the background research. I mean, maybe he didn't get every single fact right, but
no, I'm saying he probably got everything right. I'm saying there's no real journalists that are really looking into anything. I mean, here's what I don't is like the New York Times is run on a skeleton crew.
Yeah.
Compare the amount of people that worked at the New York Times 20 years ago. It's nothing. There's almost nobody there. I would be shocked if they don't scale it down even more and just start having ChatGPT write stuff.
Oh, I'm sure they already are.
Yeah, who knows what's going to come? What's going to happen? I mean, and the ability to have, artificial intelligence mislead you. Like I've watched several articles on that. They're like, listen, when AI starts to lie to us or starts to realize that they can manipulate us to get its way and it's plugged into everything, how frightening would that be?
Oh, and it's happening.
Like it's not hard to manipulate somebody anyway. Like you steal some money. You steal 650, 700,000. Well, 700,000 doesn't sound sexy. So what I say is he stole nearly $1 million.
Yeah.
Is that a lie? No. But you know what the person who reads it says? The moment I read that article and somebody and Colby says something and sparks a conversation, this guy, he was robbing ATMs. He stole $1 million. I'm not going to tell Colby it was nearly $1 million. When Colby tells somebody else, it'll be over $1 million. The truth is, I said nearly $1 million. I said nearly $1 million because $1 million sounds sexier, right? Yeah. But it's manipulative. So
you're pegging someone's brain to that number.
And that's not even a lie, because guess what? 700,000 is nearly $1 million. In my opinion, it's nearly $1 million.
Yeah.
So, it's not, to me, that's not even necessarily a lie. Is it manipulative? Yeah, it's kind of, but it's also sexier. And, I'm not prosecuting anybody. I'm just telling a story. So wait till AI can manipulate on a scale that humans can't fathom.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to be so much better at manipulating because of all the data that's being collected. Italy actually implemented a ban on ChatGPT because of all the personal data that it was inputting. Because part of using ChatGPT is quote unquote programming the chat to speak in your voice or speak in a certain way, right? Like you can train to speak in your Matt Cox's voice, Mark Savant's voice, whatever. So Italy shut it down because it's going to be able to do is it's going to know us inside and out. It's know our personalities, our proclivities, what scares us, what excites us, our relationships. And it's going to be able to manipulate us based on how well it knows us. Heck, Facebook knows when you have colon cancer before the doctor knows you have colon cancer. And so it's going to be able to manipulate us at scale once it's plugged into these algorithms. Way better than a human being can, my opinion. God forbid you have a Neuralink hooked up to the back of your skull, and then, it's feeding into you AI ideas. It's taking out data at scale. What's really shocking is how much data is actually attached to your email address. I know I'm jumping around here, but I was talking to this AI app developer on my show the other day, And he has this calendar app. And this is how it works. It's pretty incredible. It's a sales calendar. And so if I send you the calendar, hey Matt, sign up for an appointment. We're talk about your product. You input your email, and this AI app scours the web for all data associated with your email. Where you've worked, where you went to college, where you live, your wife, how many dogs you have, how many kids you have, what are your interests. Your email is pegged to every time you log into something, your email is pegged to that. So it can use your email to get all this data. And then when we hop on the phone call, I already know everything about you.
Right.
It gives me all the prompts, all the talking points. We can get down to business faster because I can start to develop rapport with you much more quickly, which is pretty cool. Even on the back end, another thing that it does that's really cool is because I have your email attached, because it's already done all the research on where you live and whatnot. Let's say we're in Florida here. Hurricanes coming through Florida. The AI app will automatically send you an email and say, hey, Matt, hope you're okay. I know the hurricane's coming. Let me know if you need anything. Boom. Now we're like best buds because you're like, wow, Mark is really thinking about me. It's not
right.
me. It's the AI app that I have programmed properly to get you pegged down, Yeah. So it's mind-boggling. That's not necessarily manipulation. That's relationship building. But
it's still manipulative because let's face it, if I know that you're a huge Trump supporter and on the phone, and I know that, and I go into the conversation with that, and I say, and I just mentioned that my next door neighbor, hey, what's going on? It's nothing. Everything's fine. Oh, everything okay? Well, yeah, I probably shouldn't say this, but God, no, my neighbor put out this Biden sign, and I just can't stand the guy. Like the guy can barely, put together words to form a sentence, and I just don't get it. I don't, I shouldn't even say that, but listen, that guy on the phone is going to be like, he's going to be more, because mostly people stay away from politics. So he's going to be like, I'm with you, bro. Like right. He's going to go with you over the next guy who's a young millennial who he already feels like, I don't trust you. Something's up with you. So he may be like, yeah, hey, I hear you, bro. Yeah. Listen, I was at a Trump rally last month. Those Biden guys, they drive me. That's it. We're in. I'm good. And if I know you have kids and I say, yeah, what worries me is, I've got a daughter, right? It just really I hear you, man. I got a son and 2 daughters. I hear you. Like, do you know my daughter, she's 17. She didn't even have a driver's license. Man, these kids, man, I can't believe. That's it. We're good. I don't have a daughter. And I don't, none of that's true, right? So it doesn't matter. Right now, when we get down to business, I've already won you over.
Right.
So you may actually take a less favorable deal just because you like me, you trust me, we're on the same page, we're good.
Yeah, people work with people that are like, I don't even barely sell anymore. Like if someone takes the time out of their day to go to your website, book a link on your calendar, they already know that they want to buy it. They just want to know that they like you and they want to work with you, right?
Right.
So if you know all that information about them, it's over. And then again, you plug it into your CRM, which is sending out automatic emails. You put them into an email sequence and you can customize it at scale using AI. I mean, the possibilities are endless. The possibilities are, I don't know. It's really fascinating to me how this is going to roll out. And privacy, I think, becomes a big question. I don't even know if we can have privacy anymore. People.
I'm pretty much an open book. I think I'm worried about my private information, but there's.
I mean, like you want to have, like we came here today. We drove down from Fort Lauderdale. And it's like, I want the GPS to tell me which way to go. Like back when I was growing up, we had MapQuest or I had a road atlas.
MapQuest. How old are you, bro?
40. I just turned 40 this year. Yeah.
Colby doesn't even know what MapQuest is.
No, I don't know. That's paper. Print it out.
Bro, listen, when I was on the run and I was driving around, I'm driving all around the United States. Like MapQuest, if I didn't have MapQuest, I wouldn't have known where. Like I couldn't probably follow a map. The streets are, you got these little streets are this small, and you had to flip open the back to look up the street name and then try and find it on the map. Like now I look at it like it just seems like I feel like a caveman even knowing that.
I mean, I don't think I get anywhere without my GPS.
I don't know my address. Every time somebody asks me my address, I'm like, hold on. I have to pull it up and I look and I'm like, oh yeah, here it is. I've been here 2 years. Well, almost no. I've been here over 2 years. I can't tell you the address. I don't know any of the streets, how to get here. I just found out that I think this is the main street is either 54 or 56. I don't know.
That's amazing.
It says turn left. It's follow this blue line. That's what I'm doing.
It's amazing. And that's because we give up our privacy to help us, to tell us where, like, I want to get better ads. I want to get notified when, like, I don't know, a microphone goes on sale or something.
Right.
And by getting a better experience, you have to give up your privacy.
I was just thinking, listen, I wish my wife was here, bro. She's such a conspiracy, like, just nut. Like, she is. Listen, if you go into our whatever pantry, listen, there's a thing of dried. Have you seen this? It's actually gone down a little bit. It's top ramen noodles.
Oh yeah,
we've got cans of tuna fish. We have, and this is all because in case the grid goes down.
Sure.
We have. I have water filtrate. We have a water filtration system that you can suck up water out of a dirty pond and pump it, and it will clean the water for you. She's got a survival book that I bought her one.
Paper book.
Yeah, paper.
Not digital. You got to go
one.
paper. Yeah,
a paper one. I walked in. I said, "Hey, what have you been doing?" She's like, "Read a couple chapters of the survival book." And I'm like. She's constantly saying, like, we were in New York. Well, I was in New York, and I took a picture of, like, the New York skyline the other day and sent it to her. And her response was not, "It's amazing, it's gorgeous." She was like, "My God, I wouldn't want to be there if the grid went down." I was like, "What are you doing?" Like, what
like I can't blame her, like, because listen, I don't want to spend all my days worrying about what might happen, but I'll be damned if I'm not prepared when it does happen. I got chickens. I got banana trees. You need to know how to make antiseptic. That's pretty important. My mom's funny too. She had, love you, Mom. She had beans, like cans of beans hidden all over the house, in the couch, in the attic, all over the place, just in case raiders came through, just in case the grid goes down.
Oh my God, that's cracky. Listen, she wants to buy, like, we have to buy at least an acre. We have to get an acre. When we move out of here, we want to get an acre, move somewhere away from the city.
Yeah.
Because you understand what this is going to be like when the grid goes down. I'm like, the
forget
grid's
it.
not going down. You understand?
I don't know, man. I mean, everyone is terrified of nuclear war, but an EMP bomb going off in, like, downtown.
That's what she's worried about. Yeah.
What do you do? Listen, or like we had a Chinese balloon to flow all the way across the entire nation. What was that all about?
I mean, they're spying. Everybody spies on each other.
They're doing recon, and it's going to use AI to evaluate all of the landscape. It's probably picking out, like, weak points, different places where maybe there's tunnels or silos or who knows what.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would like to be on an acre somewhere away from everybody. She says we have to survive 90 days because by that point, 90% of society will have starved to death and they'll be gone and we'll be the survivors. I don't know that I want to survive. Like, I'd really almost feel like I'd prefer to be right under the nuclear bomb when it goes off. Like, it's over in an instant and we're good. I'm done. It's fine. Like, when she watches Walking Dead, she sees herself as being one of the survivalists. I see myself as being one of the Walking Dead. Like, I don't think I make it that far. I don't run fast. I'm not particularly athletic. I don't know how to hunt and fish. Like, I don't think I'm going to make it. But
I don't know, I'm with your wife. I want to survive. I don't want to become a zombie. I want to survive.
Seem that bad?
I mean, you're not thinking. I would assume you're not thinking about anything.
Yeah, it's over. It's fine. As long as it was over quick. I don't want to suffer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I don't want to suffer either, but life is suffering at the end of the day.
And listen, also, I'm 54. Like, I've been around. I've done some stuff. I'm good. I feel like maybe I haven't experienced everything I want to experience yet, but I feel okay.
I don't know, man. I feel like we're gonna start living a long time, man.
Yeah, my mom was 90. I think she was 92.
Oh, that's me.
92,
Yeah.
bro. That's a long fucking time.
And, when you start to think about, like, why are people breaking down and dying, it's probably because of some sort of, let's say it's a disease, for example.
Right.
There are AI, for radiology, I'll give you a specific example. There's AI devices out now that are 50% more effective at finding cancer in the body than a radiologist. 50%. So if you're talking about screening and eliminating cancer, like, early, AI is way more efficient at doing that, right? So that's just base level diagnosing and finding problems before they evolve.
Like a drain. Seems like these old people are a drain.
Well, don't get me started on Social Security and the problems that people are living to 100, 110, 120.
It's too much.
But let's say
it's enough already.
So you break a hip.
Can't we have, like, a cap? Like, at 90, like you have to report at 90. You have to report somewhere.
Maybe in Canada.
They give you. I think like dying from like an opiate, like right, like morphine seems like a good way to go. Like they get a slow drip for maybe an hour or so, and they slowly up the dose, and you just fall asleep and you stop. Like that seems okay to me. And at 90, like you've had a good run.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is getting pretty macabre.
You'll get to edit this.
Yeah,
you'll be able to edit. Listen, this one part. Like, you can make what timestamp?
Slow dripping the elderly.
You can timestamp this and mark that. Listen, you got to get rid of this part. I don't know what this guy went off script. I don't know what he was saying.
Yeah, it sounds like you and Justin Trudeau would get along quite well. Or in Seattle, they're doing like assisted suicide. That's crazy, dude. When you start talking about like.
I'm Catholic. I don't believe in that.
That is literally happening in Canada, where they're saying like, well, we can't afford to provide you medical services, but have you considered killing yourself? Like, here's a nice brochure to show to grandma.
I'm a huge capitalist. Like I love capitalism, but to be honest with you, I would like free healthcare. So yeah. It would be nice. Like I get it. I love the I love the TikToks when they'll show like all these American jets and what is it, the carriers and everything, and it's like the whatever, China's about to find out why Americans don't have free health care. And they'll show this massive carrier and the jets taking off. And
oh man,
you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
I think that's hilarious. I'm like, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, free healthcare. I don't know if it's possible, to be honest, because
I don't think in the United States, because there's so many different healthcare providers. Like you would have to go in and nationalize all these. You'd have to go in and buy up all these companies.
That's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You need to have incentive structures too.
Like anything the government runs, they do a horrible job.
Yeah, I don't know anything that they do super well.
Well, no.
You can leave that in the comments if you know something.
The military, although it's, of course, I'm sure they're also paying way too much for every single thing they get, but. We do have a pretty good military, but if you throw enough money at that problem, you're going to get some good stuff.
Yeah, I would think so. I think it comes down to incentive structures at the end of the day. Like when Biden announced that, hey, we're going to give you a better interest rate on a loan if you have a worse credit rating.
Yeah, well, he's an idiot.
What the hell is that?
That's just stupid. That's as stupid as paying, as people that have never had slaves paying reparations to people that were never slaves.
Right.
Like it's just, what are you doing? Stop it.
Or if you if you have a large student debt, we're going to pay off your student debt. Bro, these are the richest, wealthiest people that have the greatest opportunity for upward advancement. You're just going to pay off all their debts?
Well, listen, as soon as that was announced, I thought, wait a second. Like that debt, most of that debt is not even held by the government. Like these are private banks have lent that money based on guidelines set by the government. So the government would have to come in and buy up all that debt and then satisfy it. So, even if it's held by, even though a bulk of it may be held by, let's say, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or, Sallie Mae, right? Sallie Mae that holds the student loans, right?
I believe so.
So, but it's still not all of it. So you can't go to, if you're making, because I was making my payments when I had when I had student loans, I was making my payments to banks.
Yeah.
So, but I had borrowed the money from like Sallie Mae, and then I was making payments to different banks. So it's like, so you can't go to Bank of America and tell them that you're going to satisfy that debt. And of course, it went all the way up to what? To the
Supreme Court
said, you can't do that.
The Supreme Court struck it down, and then Biden came back a few months later and said, we're going to do it anyway.
No, you're not. And not just that you're not going to do it, but let's face it. Then he comes in, he says he's going to all possession charges. What was it? All possession charges for federal prisoners were forgiving all for marijuana. Nobody's in prison for possession in federal prison.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
They're like, and everybody came out. All these federal guys were coming out saying, "What is he talking about? What are you talking about? You can't pardon all these people. There are no people in federal prison for possession of marijuana. Yeah. Like it's distribution.
I could see maybe like a massive drug smuggler who took drugs across international lines or something.
Yeah, but that would be trafficking. Like there's no charge. Like he's forgiving charges that don't exist.
That would be a huge doobie. Yeah, I mean, to get groped up.
It's the same thing. There's all kinds of ridiculous things that happen.
Yeah.
It's like saying there's nobody coming across the border illegally. Well, What are you talking about?
That's a scary thing. That's a scary thing. I don't even know what to think. I don't know how we're going to resolve it. I mean, maybe, I don't know if you saw that there's Amazon stores that have facial recognition technology. When you go in and buy something, you don't need to take out your wallet. You don't need to take out anything. You just go in, grab what you want and walk out, and it automatically charges your account based on facial recognition software.
That's pretty cool.
So it sounds cool. But okay, so you're doing that at, let's say, an Amazon store. Then it's a mall. Then it's a city.
Well, I was going to say, or what if somebody goes on Facebook, gets a bunch of your pictures of you, creates a face that looks like yours, and then goes into that store, buys a bunch of stuff, and it scans that face, that mask. Because have you seen these masks that they can pull down over themselves? They look amazing.
Sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Have you know what I'm talking about? Like, it's a full rubber mask that you can peel, put. Have you seen these? They're amazing looking. They're
I'm envisioning,
like
what's
people.
that movie with Keanu Reeves where they're robbing banks? That's kind of what I'm envisioning.
No. This is more like Mission Impossible.
Wow.
Like, you're peeling it off. Like, they do a whole thing.
It looks that real that you wouldn't be able to...
Listen, there was a guy from China that came from China with one of these, and they caught him. Where did they catch him? He had already come into the United States, and they caught him like coming through passport control because he actually got in front of somebody, and they looked. Nobody had ever realized it till he got right up in front of them, and they were like, "Something's up."
That's shocking.
Yeah,
that's shocking.
You've never heard of this? You know what I need is what does Joe Rogan have? Who's Jamie? Jamie, pull that up. But I don't have a Jamie. Colby's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Colby's a man.
Colby's not. He's not gonna. But he was an old guy, and he was coming from, like, I want to say it was from China. He was coming from China and got into. I want to say he got in the United States, and they caught him inside of immigration or something.
Wow.
But yeah, and that was 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. I think I read an article about it in like Wired magazine or something.
And who knows what they've got now?
The look on your face says you don't believe me. I feel like I want to look it up right now. We got to look it up. We got to look it up now. Come on.
All right, let's see it. You're talking about 10 years ago. We've got people putting on masks that are like almost unidentifiable. Yes. They look so real. Because like for me, living in the digital world, like that's okay. Sure, get it, no problem, obviously. But physical world, I feel like you'd be able to tell the difference.
U.S.
You know, because quite frankly, you know, when you start talking about all the people coming across the border, how many of them are terrorists? How many are legit? How many, you know, we just don't know the people. We can't vet them. How do you resolve that? Because once they're ingrained in our system, you can't. And I don't know if they're going to walk around with these Mission Impossible masks all the time, but we got to have some way of protecting ourselves. And, you know, we start talking about privacy and surveillance. That stuff terrifies me. Not necessarily because of the technology, but because the people that are behind the tech. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled.
The type of people that are highly attracted to power, not always doing what's best for us.
Okay, so here's the problem. I put in mask.
Shows you Jim Carrey?
No, because of all the face masks. There's tons of articles coming up because of face masks. Chinese. This is upsetting.
Type in Hong Kong arrest 8 over disguised air passenger.
Oh!
This reminds me of that meme where that girl's like, she's on an airplane. That mother effer over there is not real. Not real.
Hong Kong, what? Arrests? What is it?
Arrest 8. I try to send it to you. It's not sending through text. Let's see. Hong Kong arrest 8 over disguised air passenger. I don't know
arrest
if it's the exact same.
Yeah, I don't think it's because this was one guy arrested over.
I'm just thinking of like what you could do with a mask that was that sophisticated. Like, okay, you could sneak into a country. You could maybe like get a driver's license, maybe fill out. I mean, I wonder if it would be good enough to get past like facial recognition software. Like all these apps now have like facial verification plus a government issued ID.
Yeah, I do see the eight Hong Kong authorities have arrested 8 people suspected of helping to smuggle a young Chinese passenger. Well, there was 8 people involved in it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, disguised as an air passenger. The mask is no good, though. Like, that doesn't show a good picture of the mask. Yeah, I read a whole article. They're saying 8 people were involved? Because I when I read the article, he had just been arrested.
It makes sense it would be an old man mask because you could kind of wrinkle it a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, but this thing was like really, it's too bad they didn't show it when it was on him because it was snug and good. This is peeled off.
A Hollywood-based company, SPFX Masks, later said the mask was one of its models called The Elder. The firm said it was proud of how authentic its products looked, but never intended them to be misused. That's amazing.
Yeah, but think about it. Think about what like God, what is it? What are the 3D printers?
Yeah.
Like if you take multiple photographs of somebody and it creates a likeness of them and then can print that person's likeness in a life size, you could then take that and superimpose it onto a mask, a rubber mask. So you've seen how they make the mask, right? They make a mold of you.
Right.
And then they take the opposite of the mask and they connect it over there. You put the nostrils in and the eyes. If you could get the eyes so that they actually linked up, you could basically almost duplicate somebody.
Wow.
I mean, I would think that that's definitely coming. I got to do that. Got to get a face mask of somebody rich and then walk into an Amazon store and just clean them out.
Right. Have you seen those there's like a fake Keanu Reeves TikTok page or something like that? Like you could just get people to go crazy thinking that you're the real person.
Facebook, Instagram, they just released like fake, like official fake, like a Mr. Beast AI where you go. He's got all AI dub videos. You can message it. They'll message you back. It's not called Mr. Beast. It's like, hey, I'm Bob. Like, I'm not Mr. Beast. I'm Bob. But it's like clearly Mr. Beast, and it's like partnered with Facebook and Meta. It's like their channel. There's one with like Kylie Jenner or one of the Jenners.
Paris Hilton, Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Chris Paul. There's a bunch. There's a bunch of them. Yeah. Did you?
They're official. Like they're partnered with them, and it's
ridiculous.
I think they did like a recording session for like 3 hours, and now everything's AI. So if I wanted to, if I was bored or something, I could just be like talking to, whoever.
Well, I mean, I told you that like Jess's daughter spent like 2 or 3 hours on the couch talking to AI like a friend. Like she's giggling and laughing. We're like, who are you talking to? What are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm talking to the Chat GPT, and it's just, oh my God, it's so funny, and but having a conversation back and forth, telling jokes, laughing, joking about this, and
dude, within 5 years, half of the population is going to be in a sexual relationship with AI chatbots. No doubt in my mind. There's already a company. It's called Replica.ai. Okay. And it's designed to be a chat bot. They create these avatars that you can chat with. It can be your AI friend. Well, what ended up happening was millions of young men were developing sexual relationships. They were getting into these sexting conversations with these AI chatbots. So Replica decided we're going to go public. We want to go big with this company, but we got to cut out the sexting because it's a little bit trashy. It's not the image we want for investors. They shut it down. There was uproar, millions of young men, saying, you've lobotomized our girlfriends. And you know what the company did? They turned the feature back on to the people that were grandfathered in. So right now, there are millions of people that are already in relationships with these AI chatbots. I was talking, it gets crazier. I was talking to an AI app developer the other day. Because I talk about AI a lot and I've got this platform, I speak to a lot of AI app developers. So I was speaking to this guy, and this is what he does. He creates AI influencers for Instagram and YouTube. I think the name of it was Daria.ai. And this AI influencer is a perfect 10 out of 10. She's gorgeous, beautiful, perfect body, perfect background. She looks amazing. And by the way, there's a bunch of them out there. So if you're into blondes, brunettes, Asian, whatever you're into, you can find them.
Right.
And they get paid for sponsored posts. I've seen AI influencers like Lil Miquela get paid up to $10,000 for one post. Okay. But that's not it. Not only do they get paid for posting, well, for just $1 per minute, you can actually text with your favorite AI influencer, just like we're talking about. So they rope you in. This is like the greatest thirst trap of all time, dude. Matt,
I don't even understand why that even is appealing. Like, does it make sense? Like, I don't get it doesn't even seem appealing, but yet people
you understand
entire relationships with. But then again, it also, there are people that remember when I was growing up, like you had, really wasn't even when I was growing up. I was in prison during this time. But this was a big thing, was like you had Facebook friends, right? People that live 5 states away that you've never met, but you talk to them constantly through Messenger, and you have entire like friendships with them, and you've never spoken to this person on the phone. It's been 3 years. You're sharing photos. You're spending hours a day texting. Like, to me, what's the relationship? Like, this is a joke, right? Like, this isn't a real friendship, and they would really feel like they were a friendship. Well, it's like falling in love online. You spoke to this person twice on the phone. You've been texting them for 6 months, and now you're going to meet, and you're telling me you're in love with this person and you want to marry them. You've been texting a couple hours a day. Like, to me, that has no appeal, and yet people do it all the time. So it's insane. So what you're saying, it has no appeal to me, but it's obviously it's massively huge.
Huge.
That's ridiculous.
Huge.
But you were going to say something. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Well, and I'm with you. There's a ton of people on my Facebook friends list that I've never met, or like maybe I was a friend of a friend of a friend, or whatever. So you're right there. But I mean, to this point about these AI influencers being such a big thirst trap, porn is a thing,
right?
I mean, like, we get porn. I understand why porn is a thing, right? I don't think it's good for you. I think there's a lot of toxic stuff, but I understand why it's such a big industry, right? These AI texts, so you can kind of see like, okay, I'm a man, I see it, we're women, but primarily men. You see an image, we're motivated visually, less emotionally, more visually. Okay, I see the image, I'm turned on, ...
Right.
Same thing with these AI influencers. You see an image, you're turned on. They look so realistic, Matt. It doesn't matter if they're real or not real, or I should say, if they're physically real or not real.
I was going to say, when it comes down to it, it would. Right.
Well, yes. But how many guys are addicted to porn? How many young men are not actually getting married? Right. Like, we're not even reproducing at replacement rate right now. I think we're like at 1.9 per couple, right? It's the same concept. It's just taking porn to the next level, because now when you tell it something, it will tell you back what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And this is even before you get involved, like the next level of virtual reality and augmented reality.
What have you seen the show? I want to say it's on. Oh man, I want to say it's on Netflix, called Black Mirror.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Did you see the one where this woman's husband dies? I think it's a car accident. He dies, and a friend of hers at the funeral, a friend of hers comes and says, "Listen, I know you miss him," and she's like, she's crying. I miss him so much, and she's like, "Look, I mean, I hate to bring this up, but." There's an app that you can, if you allow it to, it will read all of his emails and correspondence and text from to you, and it will create a virtual personality, and you can communicate with them. And she's like, I don't want to do that. So anyway, she gets all upset and everything. Well, she ends up doing it. A few days later or a week later, she's just not starting to feel better, so she ends up doing it. Well, she's carrying on such an amazing relationship with this person now, like he's almost better than he ever was, right? The texting, and at some point it upsells her, like, hey, for this much money we can recreate him. We actually give you a robot and send the robot, and she has the robot there, and I think they basically grow him, like they fill up a bathtub or something, and she puts this foam thing in there, like a what do you call it, like a baby in the fetal position, right? Like it's a full size, like he's light, like she puts him in the thing and fills the tub up and pours some stuff in there, and it basically at some point he stands up and it's him, days later or something. But it looks just like him, and he's perfect. And I mean, he's better than he ever was. Like, it's a better version of her husband.
It's kind of terrifying.
It's amazing, bro. That episode is amazing.
It's 100% going to happen. I don't know about the physical reality. Did you watch the interview with Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg?
No.
So basically the way it works is they're hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and they put on the next generation of virtual reality goggles, and it uses this facial recognition technology, uses technology to like look at the eyes. It looks very realistic.
Right.
Very realistic.
What does? The girlfriend?
Well, they put on these virtual reality goggles and it maps out the person's face. So it's just like you and I are talking 3 feet from each other.
Right.
It's just like Zuckerberg and Friedman are in the same space speaking right next to each other.
Okay.
Right. And they go, it's really fascinating, but they go into all these conversations. That's one thing they talk about is in this virtual reality world, you can program an AI avatar to be like a deceased loved one. So that, and that's very soon. I don't know how quickly your physical companion is going to be there.
It's stages. You'll have to, there's robots, and then, as robotics or, as androids become a real thing, maybe it may be 50 or 100 years in the future, but at some point I can imagine that would be, unless the government came in and said, look, that we can never replicate people, and something along those lines.
The government's going to be creating soldiers at scale,
right?
You
won't even need soldiers, bro. They won't even create soldiers. There's going to be nothing but drones and bombs. Well, at some point, you'll always probably need boots on the ground.
Yeah.
But
robot dogs is what you're going to have. They actually, in New York City, they had a robot dog, like the Boston Dynamic type of dog. People were freaking the hell out in 2021, so they shelved it. They sent it to the kennel. They actually brought it back here in 2023. So it's going to be like... like disarming bombs and doing some like really high risk stuff. But robot dog police people are here. They actually just, I think in the past couple of weeks, have put in robots into the subway system to help, video and find crime happening right in the middle of these subway systems.
That's funny. It's like, there's tons of things. I remember the remake of Total Recall.
Yeah,
and they have these android police, and the guys are spitting on, they're yelling at them. Like, I was like, they're just being completely abusive to the robots, and I was thinking, I would still be polite. I'm just a nice person. Like, I say thank you to Siri sometimes.
Well, you will until they lock up or murder or perform some sort of evil act on someone that you love. They don't have emotion, right?
No, well, it's like, Elon Musk was talking about like AI, where he was like, look, the problem with AI is that like, it's like if you're putting in a road, if we're told to put in a road and we realize that there's an ant pile in the way, we just run right over. We scrape it off. Like, we don't think anything about it. We were told to do this. This was in the way. We have to get rid of that. Like, and he's like, that's the fear of AI, is that AI may decide that this is something that needs to be done and humanity is in the way, and therefore it has to be eliminated to get this done. And we'll think nothing of it because it's emotionless, So it wouldn't be like it's evil. It's just like, oh wow, this is becoming an issue. Like, if you were to give it if it was plugged into everything, and you were to give it as part of its agenda to, clean up the planet and make the planet whole again. Okay, well then the problem is all these fossil fuels, and the problem with that is this, and the problem with that is this and this, and as a result of that, really the problem is these humans. We got to get rid of the humans.
Yeah.
Like, job one is getting rid of them. And so, okay, let's go ahead and just knock them out. And how do we do that? And they start working on that problem. And within a split second, they've decided that humans are a problem, and they start trying to eliminate us.
Are you familiar with the trolley problem?
Yeah, I don't know what the trolley problem.
So this is the trolley problem. It's just kind of expanding on what you're saying here. So let's say there's a trolley, right? It's on a track. It's going forward, and it recognizes that there is a person in the way, or there's 3 people in the way, right? And it knows that if it continues forward and runs over those 3 people are going to die. Tragedy.
Right.
But it has the option of swearing off of that track, in which case it'll only run over 2 people. So it has the option. Do I run over the 3 people by going straight, or do I change course to run over 2 people?
Right.
And how is the AI going to know what to or what not to do? So here's the question. Would you let the trolley continue on its way, or would you push the button to veer it off course where you knew it would only kill 2 people?
Well, 2 people is, the lesser of the 2 evils.
It seems, but does that make us the killer? Does that make us a murderer by touching the button? There's
no good option.
There isn't.
Right.
So how does the AI make that decision of what to do? Maybe it says, okay, here's the social credit score of these people on the track. Here's a social credit score of the people that aren't on the track.
Right. These people are more of a benefit to society than not, and it does a calculation.
Yeah.
And it ends up being, well, it's like the, did you see the movie I, Robot?
Oh, yeah, Will Smith.
You know what's funny about that movie? If you read the book, and I forget who the author is, the book is like 900 pages long. The chapter, which isn't even a chapter, it's like 3 or 4 pages out of that book that discuss the revolution that took place on Earth.
Wow.
They took those 3 or 4 pages and turned it into that movie, I, Robot.
Wow.
If you read that whole book, do you know the woman that he's the computer psychologist?
That loves the robots.
Yes.
It's all in on the robots. Yeah.
So that whole book, the 900 pages, she was actually, remember how she's very analytical, very emotionalist?
Yeah.
Because in the book, they don't explain this in the book, but they don't explain this in the movie. In the book, she was actually raised by the first robots that were created as nannies. So her first nanny caretakers, because her parents were rich, but distant, raised her. So she was raised by robots. So she becomes very, emotionally unavailable. Then she becomes a robot psychiatrist. And then that whole book is taken from an interview with her.
Wow.
So it's like I interview her, and she's like 180 years old, and she's been there from the beginning of robots. And so it does this massive interview, and that's the whole book is taken from the interview with her.
Wow.
And that iRobot is like 3 pages. She mentions it for 2 or 3 pages out of the whole book. And let's talk about an exhausting, like if you weren't locked up in prison, you'd never read this book. It was horribly it was 600 pages too long. It would have been a great 300-page book. Anyway, what I was going to say is, remember, he ends up being saved, and the 2 cars go off and they're sinking, and he's screaming for the robot to save the child. And the robot it just calculates, I have a better chance of saving this human than that one. Even though that one had a 12% chance of being saved and he has a 45% chance of being saved, it made the decision, this is the one I can save. There's a better chance I can save him. This one has very little chance. But a human would say, that's a child.
Yeah.
You save the child. Fuck this dude.
Right.
He's lived his life. He's 35, 40 years old. He's had a good run. You go for this one. Even if the chances are less, you try and save the child. But the robot will never know that. So
That gives
that's
me
a
goosebumps
great,
just
right?
thinking
That's a
about that,
great
yeah.
That to me, that's the same thing you're saying. You're saying social credit score, but what if you're right? If a robot's on that track and says there's 3 people, I can swerve. I'm still going to take out 2 of them. Which one do I take out? Well, if the credit score was amazing of these 2 people and they were perfect, great people and they contributed to society, but one of them was a 12-year-old child, doesn't matter. I'm taking out the 2 adults.
Yeah.
You're going to save the child.
Unless you program it
To know that.
Yeah, but who's doing the programming? That's like the amount of power involved with programming these types of robots and systems and screening systems and social credit scores. I mean, unbelievable amount of power, and with great power comes great responsibility. And I don't see a lot of responsible power.
I love
people.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking right now is that Colby and I had a long discussion where I talked 90% of the time, 95% of the time before you got here, and it was very specific. From now on, we need to just be focusing on interviewing people about crime.
Yeah.
This is not that interview. We were looking over all of our videos, and it's like, this one didn't do any good, not related to crime. This one didn't do it, not related to crime. This one did it. Like, all these ones aren't related to crime, and you and I are having this whole conversation about AI that's not necessarily related.
But I think it's relevant because people aren't talking about this stuff yet.
Listen, I can't wait till some can't. This is a horrible thing to say, but it's true. But I shouldn't say it. Is it till some organization comes in and starts utilizing AI and really pulls off some shit? Like, that's going to be some Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible. They do stuff with the masks and different things. For the good.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some organization, and honestly, who it's going to be? It's going to be somebody like China, who's essentially, look, North Korea and China have organizations in the government that they're hired, and you are a full-time hacker. North Korea has an entire organization within the government of hackers that are running credit card scams on Europeans and Americans. So they are buying dumps of information. They're ordering stuff. They're putting money on cards. They have people in the United States that cash them out and send the money. And they're generating billions of dollars doing this. This is just, keep in mind, that whole country is it's a criminal organization, obviously, but they're like, they're starving to death. Like that regime, a portion of that regime is being propped up, other than just stealing from its own people. It's also propped up by running illegal organizations in other countries. Not to mention, like, they have super notes that are U.S. super notes, but they can only funnel so many of those in. But imagine that at some point, they're probably already using some forms of AI to come up with scams where AI is helping them, because that's what you really need initially.
Well, because people get roped into these scams because you trigger their emotions, right?
Yeah.
And like we talked about, AI is so powerful at bringing in all this data and then putting in it, like, everything that we do is tracked.
Right.
Everything.
What about like, have you ever heard of the Russian dating scams?
I haven't.
Okay, so Russian dating scams are where they look, predominantly they were started in Russia. Like, so it's probably just dating scams in general. But what they would do is they go on the free, you get like a free month or so, right? So you go on and you set up an account. Let's say you're in Russia. So you set up an account on Match.com, eHarmony, all of these things. And you take photographs of some girl who's, 24, 25 years old. She's cute. She's not over the top gorgeous, but she's gorgeous. And you start approaching these guys. Mm-hmm. And these people start a correspondence with these guys in semi-broken English, right? So they know something's up. They don't tell them at first, but once the guys start to really make inquiries, the girl is like, look, I actually live in Russia. Like, I know I said I live in Pittsburgh, but I'm actually, first they tell you I'm Russian. But then eventually they say, look, I'm actually not in Pittsburgh. I'm actually in Russia.
So they kind of like develop the relationship on the front end.
Exactly. Yeah. So they've got them, they suck them in, and then they say, look, I'm in Russia, but and then so you're going to lose some guys, but I'm actually saving money right now to come to the United States. It costs about $1,400. I've already got like $800 saved. In a couple months, I'm planning on coming. And here's what they do. So for an extra $600, $500, $400, for $400, if I give you $400 right now, you'd come.
Yeah. So the girl doesn't even ask. The guy's like, that's all you need. I'll give it to you.
Right. So, hey, no problem. And they send them $400. So then they send them a copy of their passport, the ticket they've bought. It's a real ticket. The guy can go and check. Oh, it is a real ticket. Now, I can't prove that she's on the plane, but it doesn't matter. Now, here's the hook. Typically, the person calls. So you get a phone call from Russia. Mm-hmm. Very brief. Hello, Jim. Oh my gosh, I can't do Russian, but they do a whole broken. Oh, I can't believe I'm speaking to you. Oh man, that's it. Boom, that's it. It gets cut off. Then you get the email. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The phone system is so bad here. Blah. Doesn't matter. It's a real person.
Yeah.
It's not a bot. It's a real person. Doesn't matter. They hired some chick that makes 5 calls a day.
Right.
So she talks for 30 seconds. So now this is a real person. She wants to come. Boom. You send her the $400. Gets the $400. Says she's on the plane. Then you go to the airport. So now you're at the airport and you get the text on your phone. I'm in passport control. Right? It's like I'm in immigration. I'm coming through. They stop me. Because I have no money, they won't let me into the United States. I have to have $900 or $800 to get through passport, because otherwise their fear is I'm not on vacation. I won't leave. Can you send me $800? I'll give it back to you as soon as I get through. You're just on the other side of the wall. What do? The guy goes and he Western Unions $800. And then he stands there and he waits with his bouquet of flowers, and he waits and he waits and he waits, and she never comes.
Gone. That's brilliant.
They got you for $1,000 to $1,200, $1,400, because to an American, $400 is nothing. And imagine what a superhero you look like this to this chick. This hot little chick wants to come to the United States. She's going to come here. She's going to stay with me. And for $400, it's nothing. But once you've paid the $400, now once you're invested, you're going to pay another $8. So you easily throw the 8. Why wouldn't I? She's on the other side. I believe it. I talked to her on the phone. She flew in. I'm here. I got my flowers. This is great.
I could see how you could get roped in so easily.
Absolutely.
It's like one of our most base human needs is companionship.
Right. And for $1,000 is nothing, and you're getting the other 800 back right away.
Yeah.
As soon as she walks through the door. Wow. How cruel. And you realize that most of these things are not even reported. People are humiliated. They're embarrassed. And even if they are, what, you think the FSB is going to, you think that the FBI calls the FSB and they're going to go arrest somebody in Russia? They're like, you're ripping off Americans. I don't care about that.
Yeah, they probably know it's like under a certain threshold too, right?
Well,
like
they got
it's
it down.
under a certain amount of money.
They got it down. Not just that, the Western unions where you send the money are owned by the mob. So you just pay 20% to the mob. So these are independent contractors, and the mob gets 20% to cash it. They're not getting their money back. You really sent the money. What are you going to do? Oh, I want my money back. Why? Did you file well, I was scammed. Did you file a police report? Did you, think about it. They're never getting their money back. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And $1,000 in the U.S., in Russia, these people are living on $8,000 a year. That's a lot of money. You get 2 suckers a week doing that. You are rolling in money in Russia.
I would imagine it's pretty easy to scale that kind of an operation up. You know, how many guys...
They do it everywhere now. They do it in Nigeria, everywhere. But it started in Russia. It was called the Russian dating scam. Now it's everywhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But when it first came out, it was the Russians. So how would that work with... Now, you don't even need to text the person. You can basically... Because keep in mind what they were doing. They're going out and they're sending out, let's say, 100 a day. They're fishing with 100 a day on Match.com.
Yeah.
To try and get 40 people that respond, 20 people that stay with the chat long enough, and then maybe 10 people that end up that they have to make the phone call to. 5 of those people, think about that. That's a pretty good ratio. Even if you got 1% a day that actually went through the entire scam, I mean, that's 5 to 7 a week.
It's all numbers, yeah. It's all formulas. Right. It's all numbers.
And now with ChatGPT, you don't even have to do that.
No, you could just create a chat. You could easily create and program a chatbot. It's not complicated. You could hire someone off of Upwork to program an entire chatbot.
And then you have a phone, because you understand it's not a girl. It's it's a 22-year-old guy.
It's Andrew Tate on the other side.
It's a guy, exactly. It's a guy you're talking to. So now you don't even need to hire the girl. You could have a Russian-sounding person make that phone call. It's just as easy to get.
It sounds so simple. It's like I got into launching and marketing with podcasts. I should have just gotten into Russian mail order brides. Like how that's unbelievable.
It's not too late.
You're also preying on like these people that are like, they probably feel immensely hopeless. I just psychologically, like depression and suicides are up. Like, I don't know. I think that I would struggle with doing something like that, but I could see how easily you could get roped. Have you ever dated online? Yeah, I like to think so.
No, I know. I've heard about that. It's a problem. But yeah,
heard about those things.
But yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's horrible. But yeah, definitely. Wow, that with AI. Wow,
powerful.
Yeah,
powerful. And like I was talking about emails earlier and how easily you can scrape the web. Like you can scrape the web for emails at scale, and you can pump out hundreds of thousands of emails a day.
I was gonna say, with AI, imagine you already, by the time you're actually talking with that person, when they tell you their name and, hey, can you give me your email address? Like right then, they can take that, dump that back into it and realize, okay, the guy's got 2 kids. He's divorced twice. He's got a dog. He works in this. So I need to start gearing my chat toward those things so that we have common interests.
Yeah.
Now you're really falling in love. It's not just a hot little 22-year-old or 24-year-old. It's like this chick that we have a lot in common.
Yeah.
She loves kids. She wants to date a guy that has kids. Do you have kids? I do have 2 kids. Oh my gosh, are they teenagers? Teenagers are just the best. I do have teenagers. What?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. And you could filter that automatically with tagging and sequencing. Say, okay, this person's into dogs and kids. And then I'm going to send them a picture of me with my dog and
With my
kids.
puppy.
And then you could have an entire profile set up. You could have all these fake people. How much of the internet do you think is just fake people and fake bots? Like when Elon bought Twitter for $53 million, he like purged, I heard, up to 80% of the platform because it was fake bots. Like,
It's horrible.
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I just wonder, now it's this point where you've got bots following bots, liking on other bots. It's just like, it's a complete mess.
Do you ever get the bot texts? Where
Sure.
Where they're like, hey, Jim, did you get the package? Or whatever. And it's, to me, even then, I'm always like, I'm not Jim. Please leave me alone. Like, even though it's a bot, I still answer. I'm still like, I'm still polite and nice. I'm like, listen, I'm not interested. No, you're a bot. Stop it.
I got an email just this week from quote unquote Meta. It said, hey, your account's been suspended for a copyright strike. Please click this link to appeal. Don't ever click a link online,
right?
Where you don't know where it's from. Never, ever, ever. That's how many people have lost their Bitcoin wallets, their crypto wallets because they click on a link, hacker gets in, all of a sudden they're into your MetaMask, they're into all of your crypto, and you ain't never getting your crypto back.
Well, what about the Vegas thing where they said was it Caesars that they shut down? Who was it they shut down?
Yeah.
Was it Caesars or was it
I don't know which one it was, but
one of them paid, one of them didn't. One of them said, fuck you. And they were like, oh, okay. Boom, we're shutting everything down. Now, they wish they'd paid.
Yeah, but if you pay, doesn't that just create the incentive structure that we're going to keep?
Maybe, but the other one did pay, and they left them alone. Like, they negotiated. They said, we want $8 million. Let's talk about this. And they negotiated it down to, let's say, $6 million.
Yeah.
And they paid them, and everything was fine. The other company that came in, whoever it was, they said, oh, we're not going to do that. Fuck you. And they went, okay, watch this. Boom. Guarantee. They did such damage to them and how much money they were losing every single day as a result of that.
Yeah.
I promise you next time they pay.
Maybe. But it's like when you're getting bullied in school, the best way not to get bullied is to be difficult to bully. Like you punch back. You know what I mean? If you just let kids bully you every day, they're going to keep coming back for more. I don't know. I can't.
No, I agree with you, but I mean, this is I see what you're saying, but when you have
because you're draining millions of dollars daily.
Yeah, I was going to say when you've got a board of directors, it's more like, hey, let's just make it super difficult for them next time.
Yeah,
so let's see if this is possible. Let's have a backup system just in case. Like they'll probably make it as difficult as possible, but at some point, and I'm sure that they must have shown them something. Like, hey, look, we're going to do something. It's going to be about 5 minutes. It's going to be a problem for you. We're going to turn everything back on. Otherwise, we're shutting your system down. So I'm sure they showed them. So if they make it, so I'm sure that they'll go back, fix whatever problem that is, and hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
But most of those things happen as a result of just like social engineering. It's not because... most hacks are not as a result of somebody getting in the system. It's not like a swordfish. I've got this special code and I'm downloading it and I've got them. We're in. I'm in. It's more like they call customer service and then they say, I'm so and so and I work here and can you fight? But for some reason I'm locked out of this. Can you forward me to Jim so and so? Sure. They forward the call or the email. Next thing you know, it's Jim's like, oh hey Bob, yeah, no, hey, how's it going? And he thinks he's Bob and yeah, man, I have locked out of the system. Can you give me my reset my passcode? Yeah, no problem. I understand.
Right.
Really, it's some guy in North Korea.
Right.
And next thing you know, boom, he's now in the system and he's got access to $50 million and he starts siphoning off the money over the next 2 days or 3 days and you don't catch it till a couple million's gone and you're like, oh my God, they hacked us. Did they really hacking?
Well, how often does that happen in regular businesses? You say, I'll cut this little corner here because I don't want to have to go through all the systems and the bureaucratic
all the different things I'm supposed to do. Well, technically I'm, the manual says I'm supposed to call so-and-so and do a system reset of, fuck it, bro. Use my code. It's 5502.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know it's Jim. He's right down. Look, I say, hey, Jim. Hey.
Yeah.
Jim's talking to somebody else on the phone. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm like a nerd or whatever, but I always hate cutting those corners for that reason. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's responsible for the entire system imploding.
Yeah, you got to get another job.
Like at schools, for example, with all these school shootings that are happening, there's all these different regulations that are being put into place. And one of those would be like, you can only go in and out of this one door, teachers only in and out of this one door and never leave the back door open. teacher's like, my car's right out there. Nothing's going to happen. I'll just keep the door propped with this rock for a few minutes. Then, boom, it only takes one time that you break that regulation where the wrong person gets in the back door.
Did you see, there's actually a TikTok with Julian. He's got Jim. He's got a buddy named Jim, or the guy that's been on his show. He's a retired FBI agent, where he goes to like a prep school, like a super like top shelf prep school, and is able to walk right in. And the security guard, they stop him. He's like, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm with such and such, and I'm checking out the prep school for my kid." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, go on in." And he just walks right in. He said, I sounded confident. He believed me. He didn't check. Boom, I'll walk right in. He's like, I'm a grown man walking through a school unattended. Like, that should not have happened. Like, I'm walking through a middle school right now.
Yeah.
I could, who knows?
Well, I think that's because most people don't walk around with their antennas up. They're not like hyper-focused.
They're just not looking for fraud.
Right.
They're not. Here's what I always tell people when they're like, well, how do we stop this? How do we? Well, you have to realize that you have to think foremost, this could be fraud. You don't have to be rude or anything, but you do have to think fraud's a possibility. And what I always noticed when I would walk into a bank, if something didn't seem right and it showed up on their system, what they didn't think was fraud, even if it said fraud alert. And what happens is you pull your credit. For instance, the problem is you do see fraud alerts. For instance, let's say I pulled your credit. Even if I pull your credit, and I'm at Bank of America and I pull your credit, not that the people in the bank actually ever see your credit, but let's assume that somebody does see your credit and they pull let's say you're a mortgage broker and I pull your credit right then, it shows up. It's going to say fraud alert on yours, because the problem is at some point somebody has pulled you have applied for something and it has said, like, I don't know what your middle name is. Let's say it's, Ralph, Mark R. Savant. And then there's going to be another one where it's going to be Ralph Savant, or it's going to be, and then, so right now, guess what? That's an alias. You now have an alias alert. And it's going to say fraud alert, alias, and it's going to have two different versions of your name. Now, the person, me, who pulled it, they're going to, okay, that's not a big deal. I know, I understand the problem. The other thing is, every time you've moved, fraud alert, multiple addresses.
Wow.
He's using different, fraud alert, multiple, and they're going to be like, yeah, I understand, but he said he lives here, and this address last time it was pulled was 2 years ago, and this is a new address, so that's fine. They swipe it, no big deal. What happens is people are kind of programmed, people are programmed to look for an explanation.
Interesting,
so if something is wrong on a W-2 or a pay stub or your bank statement or something you've said, instead of going, oh, okay, hold on a second, or making a note, okay, okay, I understand, and making a note and continuing, and then going and saying, hey, I'm going to go talk to my manager real quick to see about something, and walking off and saying, listen, this is what the guy just told me. This doesn't make sense. And here's what he gave me. Look at his W-2.
Yeah.
Instead of saying that, what they do instead is they say, oh, I don't understand. Your W-2 says this. You said this, but that's not what your pay stub says. That gives you an opportunity
to give an explanation. And people are probably looking for an explanation.
As a broker or a loan officer, I want an explanation. Like, I don't make any money if I catch someone committing fraud. I don't even get an attaboy. So what I always say is, like, you really should incentivize, like, because I'll do the like cyber conferences and stuff where I do like keynote speaking, and they'll say, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, you have to incentivize people, where it's like, look, every time your employee, if that loan goes through, he might make $100 or he might make, $3,500. So you have to incentivize him to catch the fraud, even if it's a quick $100. Like, hey, boom, we went back, we checked this, Yeah, no, it's fraud. This guy's committing fraud right now. We just called his bank. These are fake. We just called here. This is fake. We called his employer. The guy's been working there for a month.
Yeah.
He said 2 years, and he gave us two W-2s that are not from them. So you just caught fraud. Great. Attaboy. Then people would start looking.
Be more vigilant.
Right.
Yeah, you got to look at, like, what's it costing us in fraud? How much is walking out the door?
Anything, even especially if it doesn't have to be like the equivalent of what I would have gotten had that gone through.
It probably even deters fraudsters from actually going through your bank if they know, hey, they have an incentive program to actually catch fraudsters and rope them up, and they'll prosecute heavily.
Right.
Yeah, but you're seeing a lot of retail outlets don't even bother with shoplifting anymore because they're afraid of the bad press on the back end.
Bad press. It's insane. Like that some, you see the stuff in California and Chicago, and it's insane.
I was watching, I think it was a CNN interview. They were in, I think it was a Walgreens, and while they were doing the 30-minute interview, they watched 3 people walk out the door without paying.
They're like, did they? Yeah. They're like, did they? They're like, no, they just no.
That's great. There was another guy in, I think it was California, it might have been Washington. They have a rule where they won't prosecute any shoplifting that's under $1,000.
Right.
So we marked everything in the store at $1,001, and then just gave coupons at the front counter so they could still prosecute you. That's amazing. That's just unbelievable. I actually worked in loss prevention at Target. This is years ago, and they don't do this anymore, by the way. Loss prevention, you had like a security suit on. They even gave us handcuffs too. And then our job was to go up and find people who were shoplifting at the front and say, oh, you forgot to ring up this TV that's underneath the cart or whatever. Right. Some people did not like getting their receipts checked, by the way, but that's what we did. But I remember the first day on the job, we had an undercover guy who's ex-military. His name was Dorian. This guy was really, really intense. It's my first day on the job. I'm like, I'm just here to collect my $12 an hour or whatever. He's a super intense dude. And I remember him giving me a call on the radio. He goes, yo, Mark, I need you to hop in.
We've got one.
We got a hot one. I need you to hop into the CCTV room. So I hop in the CCTV room and I'm looking. He's like, there's a guy here in menswear. He's stuffing underwear down his shirt. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. I got him. Because we have to record it. We got it. And he's following him around the store. This guy's like, he's like a homeless guy. He's putting t-shirts and underwear and shirts. He's like, all right, okay. Oh, it looks like he's going to head out garden now. I need you to run out there. So I'm sprinting outside down to garden where the back exit is. And he's on the radio. He's like, okay, he's passing the palm trees. He's passing the mulch. All right, he's coming. He's getting ready to walk out. Get ready. So this guy walks out and he says, no, Mark, no. I pop out and I go, sir. And then this guy, Dorian, he comes running behind him and tackles him from behind. All of a sudden, this is my first day.
Time.
All of a sudden, we're in a skirmish with this guy on the ground. We're cuffing him up, and it's over it's over like a couple $100s of worth of menswear. This is my first day on the job. I'm like, holy cow. But to your point, there's no way you're doing this anymore. No way.
No.
Yeah, there was this guy on TikTok who did, he was like Home Depot asset protection or whatever, and he would snatch these people at the door, like chase them down, grab their stuff. And he would he would record the security footage, and he would record it like his highlight tape. He's like, he's coming in, like, boom, got him. Like he's trying to run, and then eventually they like let him go.
Yeah, they'll fire him.
It was like his thing was going viral. He's like, look at this, like I tackled him. Like it's like literally like this little highlight tape that he's recording his security footage.
Oh my God! I mean, it's just such a weird time. It really is. It's just weird.
Yeah, because everyone's trying to find the gotcha moments. Like even in that New York subway where there's the dude is like walking around, he's like threatening to stab people, and then the military vet Daniel Penny tackles him, brings him to the floor with 3 other people because he's threatening to murder and kill people. Right. And now
he's got a knife.
Yeah, he's got a knife. And now Daniel Penny is being, I don't know if he had a knife at the time or not, but he was threatening. At the very least, fact check me. He was at least threatening to hurt people. Daniel Penny and 3 other people, one of which at least was a black man, end up bringing this guy down, subduing him. During the course of it, the guy ended up dying. And now Daniel Penny is he's being accused of manslaughter, and he's going to get roped up, maybe go to prison for trying to protect subway passengers. Mind you, after this happened, all the subway passengers were clapping. They're like, thank you. We're so appreciative. Doesn't matter. White man, black victim. I'm going to use the word victim, although I don't know that, black perpetrator, whatever. Huge news story. And it's just so backwards to me. Like, why would I ever stick my neck out for anyone
somebody
else?
No.
Why would I ever?
Yeah, I luckily I don't live in my house. So yeah, there's just no reason to anyway.
Fair enough. Well, I guess Daniel Penny's not going to have to do it next time because you've got robots inside New York City subways that'll do it for you. And
I got to see the robots. I don't understand what the robots are like. What they don't like. What do they look like?
It right now it looks like a big garbage can. It looks like R2D2. So it's not. It's just going to be going around getting video. But I mean, that's just the first amalgamation. I mean, pretty soon they're going to be shooting tear gas and all kinds of gnarly stuff, man. It's gonna get weird. I got to talk about another thing though, that this is not a fraud, but to me, it's going to be one of the most damaging things to young people. It's deepfakes. We talked about deepfake a little bit. Do you have kids?
Me?
Yeah.
I do, but yeah.
So I've got a 7-year-old daughter, and I can see her going to school and having this happening to her. So there's a famous Twitch streamer. His name is Atrioke, and he was live on stream, and some people noticed that there was some deepfake porn on his screen, and this deepfake porn was of these other very famous Twitch streamers: Sweet Anita, Maya Higa, QT Cinderella. These are Twitch streamers. They're not porn actresses.
Right.
But what is happening is
They're putting their faces on.
their face on porn.
Right.
And it's not hard to do. This is like pretty simple stuff.
Yeah. I downloaded that app where you could put my face on, like, Brad Pitt when he's fighting with, in Troy, where he runs up and stabs the other guy, and I'm standing there, I'm all buff like Brad Pitt in my face, and I did a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually did Tommy. I put Tommy on like some woman's face and sent it to him. He got all irritated and upset about it.
Yeah, MSCS Media. Shout out to Tommy. Tommy's a good dude.
He's hilarious.
But how, like, I got a 7-year-old daughter. Like, imagine she's 13, 14 years old. She comes into school. It's after summer break. She just broke up with her boyfriend. And the boyfriend's like, I'll show that. Yeah. And then he deepfakes the porn. He sends it out to everyone at school. Her reputation, like, especially a young kid. Like, I don't know about you. Like, nowadays, like, whatever. You want to talk bad about me on the internet, I don't care. But if you're 13, that's like your entire life.
So the problem with that is now that is like dissemination of child pornography. Even if the actress is, 20-something years old, you put her face on it. I was in prison with a guy that got, I want to say 3 or 4. He got the mandatory minimum. I want to say it was 4 years. Because he had downloaded manga porn.
Like manga, like the cartoons, the Japanese cartoons.
Because the law says the way it's written is images. Doesn't say photographs, doesn't say film. It's images of underage. And what happened was he had been chatting with someone in a manga. So manga, a lot of these guys have some issues, right? That's a big pull because a lot of it is they have these underage girls in manga, that Japanese girls. So this guy's on a site where he's talking about trading manga, and there was the FBI they stay in those sites to pick up guys that are looking for underage girls.
Yeah. And
so this guy's talking, he ends up talking to an FBI agent, and the FBI agent's talking about trading this manga series and this one. Have you ever read this? And they're having a conversation. And the guy says, hey, by the way, have you ever seen this manga? It's like a porn. And the guy's like, no, I've never seen that. He's like, yeah, you ought to get it.
Wow.
And so he's like, yeah, I'm not really interested. So they go back and forth. The guy mentions it several times. Then he says, I'm telling you, it is amazing. You have to see this. It's really amazing. And so the guy's like, it was like $9. So he pays $9 or whatever it is, and the guy sends it, and it's a little 5-minute. But what it is it's a couple of Yakuza pull up in like a van, and they kidnap a Japanese schoolgirl who's clearly 13, 14 years old. And
cartoon,
bring her somewhere, tie her up, abuse her, and then drop her off. Well, he downloaded it. It's on his computer. He watched it. The FBI shows up. They indict him and show up a few days later. They indict him.
And the FBI agent actually sent him.
Sent him to. Oh, that's not. They do that all the time. But the way the law reads is that it's possession. You don't even have to necessarily have watched it if you just possess it on your computer. But this guy watched it, so he watched it. He possessed it. So he was like, they were like, look, plead guilty. You don't have to go to jail. He's like, are you out of your mind? He's like, I'm going to trial. He goes to trial. He loses. He gets 4 years. He was in Coleman. There's multiple guys. Like there's a guy that the same thing. There was a guy we called him, and I know I've told this story before. His name was oh God, no, I don't know his name, but they called him Harry Potter. He played ping pong all the time. He was amazing, but he looked just like Harry Potter. So but he's probably 22, 23 years old. He got, I want to say he got a chunk of time. Maybe it was, I'm probably wrong. I'm going to say 6 or 7 years. I'm probably wrong. At the very least, he got 4 years because that was like the mandatory minimum.
Yeah.
What he did was he had been dating a girl, started dating her when he was 14 or 15 years old. They were having sex. At some point, he's like 19 and she's 18 or something. He finds out she's cheating on him with one of his good friends. He's furious. Well, when they were 15, 16, 17 years old, they had taken photographs of each other, but they'd also taken like a video.
On the web for what were they were 1,617 years old. Check it out.
Hello?
Did you just get Alexa listening to this whole entire conversation?
Jess's daughter over here.
Mary Shelley?
Mary Shelley, yeah.
Was that you?
No, that was your computer.
Oh, I thought you were turning
No.
the TV back.
Bro, the computer listening to every single word
What did
we
it
said.
What did it say?
I don't know. We started talking about this topic, which, quite frankly, I don't know. I think we're way too soft on that particular type of crime. I don't know about the exact circumstance he was talking about, but like I kind of pride myself on never crying in movies, but watching Sound of Freedom, I couldn't help, man. I let out some tears. That movie was so intense.
Well, so here's what happens is the problem with making laws so liberal is that the kid who's now 19 or so is infuriated with his girlfriend. And what does he do? He starts sending out, I don't know if it was pictures or video, but he starts shooting out, let's say photographs, naked photographs of his, at the time, 14 or 15-year-old girlfriend that he was having sex with at the time. He's also young. Start shooting out these photographs. Well, the mom finds out, or a friend of a friend. Eventually, they all find out. The mom finds out. The mom contacts the authorities. The authorities, the local cops or whoever are saying, well, this isn't within our wheelhouse because it's over the internet. They contact the FBI. FBI comes in. They indict the kid. He says, what are you talking about? I want to say he might have gone to trial. He's like, wait, there's pictures of me and my girlfriend. They're like, yeah, but you're 19 years old and this is child pornography. He fights. So he says, I want to say he went to trial, but he may not have. He may have just taken a plea. Whatever it was, he ends up getting, and once again, I'm not positive. I think it was like 6 years. He ends up getting like 6 years. He played ping pong for,
So he was
4.5
sharing,
years.
just so I'm clear on what he's doing here. When he was in the romantic relationship with this girl, they were both minors.
Yes.
Right. But he shared out, he had pictures of her nude that he shared out.
I mean, having sex. They're having sex.
Right.
Now we're talking about like pornographic photographs of him and his girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
But now he's 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And
but you're still distributing video of a minor with
right.
intent to harm that person, right?
I agree. But in his mind, because there is no intent attached to that crime.
Well, the intent is to do damage to her,
No,
right?
I'm saying when they write you. So a lot of crimes, you have to have the intent to do something, right?
Okay.
So with that crime, there's no intent. It's like saying, like you simply have it on your computer. You can say, yeah, but I never looked at it, or I downloaded it and I didn't know what it was and I never looked at it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You have possession of it. You're going to jail. Yeah, but my intent wasn't to download this.
Yeah.
Listen, I know guys. I know a guy that was locked up, and I actually saw his paperwork. He went to someone and was asking to buy dumps of information for credit cards. Okay. And the FBI agent that he stumbled upon in this dark web that he was trying to disseminate pornography. Hey, do you want to buy this? I don't have that, but I have this. And he's like, no, I don't want that. Yeah, but I have this. He's like, I'm not interested in that. Eventually, the FBI agent comes along. He says, look, here's what I can do. I can give you the credit card information you want, and I'll go ahead and I'll throw in some videos too. Some videos of movies and this and that, and he sticks in a video of child pornography.
Just trying to like upsell almost.
And so the guy downloads it, And they come and they indict him and they grab his computer. And guess what? You have child pornography on your computer. He says, yeah, I know, but I when I actually did click on it and I watched it for like a second or something, I realized it, I turned it off. And they're like, yeah, we understand, but you possess it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my intent was not to download it. He put it in there. Like, I didn't even know it was in there. It was just random movies.
Isn't that entrapment, though?
It is entrapment. Entrapment is not a defense in the federal system.
Wow.
And guess what? I was locked up with him. He went to prison. I mean, he went to prison for it.
Wow.
And and his lawyer was like, "Look, what do you want to do? Do you want to go in front of a jury and explain to a jury, hey, I just was trying to download your credit card information so I could run up your credit cards." And so they're going to that's what you have to do. You have to get on the stand and say, I'm a credit card thief and I do credit cards and these guys stuck this in here and I'm not guilty of that. They're willing to give you 4 years. But if you go to trial, then they're going to hit you for every image that made up that entire film. You could get 40, 34, you can get hundreds of years, but they most likely would give them like 15 or 20.
See, it doesn't seem like the right way to actually fight child trafficking.
To me, that's not child trafficking. Child trafficking is you grabbed a child.
Right.
I'm not saying that guys that look at that intentionally aren't perverts and weirdos, but I'm saying that things like what we're talking about, taking an image and putting it on there, like that's child pornography.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like disseminating that, they'll look at, like, people think, oh, you're ruining her reputation. Listen, it's worse than that. This guy, you can like, it's not just ruining your daughter's reputation. That's prison time. Like, you don't understand what you've just done. Like, that's serious. It's more serious than my daughter's being made fun of from her classmates. Way more serious.
Yeah, you could be go to prison, especially if you're over 18, I guess.
Right. So that's a serious issue.
I wonder if that's how it's going to end up getting litigated in the future, because this is definitely going to become a problem. There's definitely going to be.
I think based on the law, it would be.
Yeah.
Especially, keep in mind too, like so it's not.
You know what's crazy to me is kids do dumb things. 18-year-olds do some really stupid things without thinking. Like, she broke up with me. I hate her. I'll show her.
That's exact. Like they're not thinking clearly. That's not. You're not thinking. A grown man would go, I'm angry, I'm upset, but that would be really over the top. Like, that wouldn't be proportionate to what's happened. I definitely. And what's so funny too is people don't realize, like, it depends on the prosecutor. One prosecutor would look at that and be like, come on, man, the guy sent that. He's a jerk. Did you scare him? Is he scared? Okay, let's scare him a little bit. But that's it. I'm not sending this kid to prison for 4 years. Like, I have to send him for 4 years. I can't do it for 6 months. I can't even give him probation. He's got to go to prison based on the law. He either goes to jail for 4 years or he gets nothing. I'm sorry, I'm not sending him to prison for 4 years. Is he an asshole? He's an asshole. But I'm not going to send him to prison. He didn't realize what he was doing. So, but other prosecutors will say, that's it. How many photographs? He's getting 12 years. And they'd be like, what are you talking about? He made a mistake. He's an idiot.
Well, I think what there needs to be is established, clear penalties that are transparent, like, so that when that high school kid says, hey, I'm going to show Teresa a thing or two, his boy will say, yeah, that's 5 to 10. I wouldn't do that, because I think right now, with, again, all these different AI scams and crimes that are popping up, like, it's not clear what's right, what's copyright free, what's okay, what's not okay, or what's going to get you federal time versus civil.
I was going to say what they should do, which they'll never do. Well, first of all, just in high school or junior high and high school, they should teach a class on just, let's face it, credit, finance, which they don't, unless it's a private school. The other thing is, it would be amazing if you taught like a class on federal sentencing guidelines on just the law.
Wow.
It would terrify people if they were like, what are you saying? So, no, you don't understand. I'm not a drug trafficker. Like, you can't give me 20 years. I'm not a drug trafficker. Well, you're selling marijuana. Yeah, but I only sell dime bags. How often do you sell them? How long have you been doing? Well, I sell a little here, a little there. Okay, right. Let's add that up. Okay, so far in the last 2 years, you do a little here, a little there. So far in the last 2 years, okay, you're up to you've sold 50 pounds of weed. What? No, I only sell. Add it up. You add it up and they're like, oh, well, yeah, but that's over 2 years. It doesn't matter how long the conspiracy has been going on. You've sold 20 pounds or 50 pounds or however many pounds of weed. And based on the guidelines, here's where you stand. And guess what? You're going to do 5 years. What? Like, people don't realize that. When everybody I've ever met who sells drugs, when they get arrested for selling drugs and they tell them the amount, that how many pounds they've sold or kilos, they're always like, I've never seen that much in my life. No, you haven't. Not at one time.
Yeah.
And not just that, guess what? The guy who wore a wire on you, he's going to say, what they do is this. They end up getting you to sell more and more. Okay, so first it's, you buy whatever, an eighth of a key, right?
Yeah.
And then they go, bro, can you get me half a key? Yeah, I can get you half a key. Cool, bro, cool. Now you get this half a key. How much what would it cost if I bought a whole key? I want a whole key because I want a discount.
Right.
And you say, okay, well, it's going to take me a little bit of time, but I can get it. Well, now the guy that's going to get on a stand, I bought keys, I bought half keys. I've been buying from this guy for
months, yeah,
or years.
Wow.
Like, I got pinched after I've been buying from him for years, and he's going to lie to the prosecutor and say, I've been buying half a key every week or two, because he wants to make you sound like a big fish so he gets time off of his sentence. Like, I got a guy who's moving a couple keys a month. The truth is, this guy's moving a quarter of a key a month at best.
Right.
But you're relying on this person. We want to be able to tell the jury he's a big fish. He goes to trial. Either you plead guilty to 20 or 30 keys of cocaine, or you go to trial and we'll instead of you taking 10 years, you're going to get 30. And this guy will get on the stand, and we have you cold. We've got you on wire. We've got you on video. You're done.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you taught that in the school system, kids would go, that can't be right. Like, no, you want me to list? I'll get 4 guys in here right now. You can show them a video of guys going, I'm doing 20 years. Yeah, I was a 19-year-old. Here's what I was doing. Boom, I got 20 years. Hey, I'm so-and-so. This is what I was doing. But when I got into court, this is how they added it up, and this is what I was looking at. Here's the sentencing guidelines. This is where I fell right here. Guess what? That's a 30-year sentence. I got lucky. I was able to cooperate. They gave me 19 years.
It's like a Ponzi scheme, because now you have to go wrap in the next person,
Absolutely.
who wraps in the next person.
Well, the whole system's based on that. If you wouldn't give cooperation, then the entire system would break down, or you'd have to say, hey, we're not going to prosecute any crimes under this. And you see what happens when they do that. So people are like, well, they shouldn't do that. Yeah, I know. But if you don't, then you see what happens. Then you end up having shoplifters come in and buy and steal everything under $1,000.
Right.
Same thing with drugs. I only move this much. Why? Because if you add it up, it never amounts to more than this. So I can do this all day long.
Wow. Yeah.
Or you say, hey, don't make drugs illegal at all. Just make them completely legal and let Pfizer, put them out, and you get a prescription, and that's it. And we dump all that money in law enforcement and prisons, and we dump it into drug rehabs.
I would definitely be more in line with that. I mean, that makes more sense.
That makes sense to me. That's the way to go.
Yeah, the fact that, what is it, a class, I can't remember, a Schedule D drug or whatever, like marijuana being like one of the worst drugs in the world. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
like, nobody really believes that.
No, it's so stupid.
It's just a way of roping people into these huge.
And all of it is they're all just sound bites to get elected.
Yeah.
Those laws all ended up being put into the system and voted into law because it sounded good.
Yeah, and nobody wants to be the person to, I guess, to end the criminalization of marijuana.
No, because somebody's going to kill somebody or do this or do that, and they're going to blame you, and they don't want to be that guy because they want to get reelected.
Yeah.
The way to do that is to say, hey, guess what? You can only run for 3 terms, even in Congress.
Yeah.
We don't have any more career politicians.
Psychedelics are another thing I think that are picking up a lot of steam, big money. I was actually talking to Paul Hutchinson. He's the executive producer for the Sound of Freedom movie. He's a billionaire real estate investor. His character was in the movie.
Okay.
But we were talking about how to stop child trafficking. He said, well, you need to kill the demand. I'm like, how the hell do you do that, right? And he said, well, there's some really good evidence coming out that psychedelics used in a very strategic way,
microdosing, right?
Exactly, can actually kill or rewire the neurology in the brain. It can start creating new neurologic pathways that prevent that sort of desire. And I was like, wow, like a minute ago we were talking about tithing and reading the Bible. Now you're talking about psychedelics to solve these weird brain issues. And yeah, I don't know. Like the fact that all this stuff gets roped in with serious narcotics is silly.
No, I know. I mean, it's so stupid. There's so many things that just absolutely don't make sense. It's just in the world in general, let alone the United States and the laws and the court structure. Like, I've had these conversations where people are like, oh, well, the court system and it's a corrupt system and it's this and it's that. And, it's actually a pretty reasonable system. But the people that run the system are humans.
Yeah.
And humans are corrupt, and they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to overreach, and they're going to do, anytime you can design a perfect system, you probably can't. But let's just say you could design a perfect system. Well, the moment you say, okay, and now I'm going to give it to these humans to run, well, now we have a problem. They're manipulative, and they're corrupt, and they're going to make mistakes, and they're lazy, and they're stupid, and they like I said, they overreach, and so that's a problem. It's kind of like, and it's the same thing. I've mentioned this before on podcasts where it's like some of this ridiculous. Like it's like 85% of sex offenders admit that they were sexually molested as children. So it's like, wow, like you were created. Like it's sad. They're victims first. And my heart goes out to them, but now you're a monster.
Yeah, you can't perpetrate. And that was kind of Paul's point. He brought up
it's sad, in
psychedelics as being a way of trying to prevent that.
Lions are cute puppies. I mean, they're cute when they're babies and you can play with them, but then they grow up and they're lions, and you can't let monsters roam the countryside. Like, these were little kids that were innocent once and someone destroyed them, and now they're destroying people. Well, and it's like, oh, but this happened to me and I'm a victim. Yeah, I know, but now you got to go to prison, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
There's no excuse. The behavior can't. Because
there's tons of people that go through horrific things as children that didn't end up being a monster.
Yeah.
You were already, some kind of programming wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
And you just can't be out here anymore. So it's like, I feel bad for you, but you can't be out here, bro. You got to go.
Yeah.
You're a weirdo.
For
like
sure.
you're doing weird stuff.
I mean, I hope I'm cautiously optimistic about the United States getting this stuff under control. There's a lot of fears. Like,
what's amazing is how bad is it other places?
Oh man, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
No.
People are always talking about, oh, well, over here, over there. Like, I don't necessarily buy that. It's kind of funny. We see like gays for Palestine, and you're like, do you know what it'd be like for you if you were there?
Yeah, go.
Yeah, check it out.
Go. I will buy the plane ticket, bro.
Drink a margarita on the beach.
Document it. Put it on TikTok. Let everybody know. I guarantee you only have to send over 4 or 5 of them. And when those videos come back and hit the internet, they're gonna go, oh yeah, no, we're good. I'm not going. It's good here.
I think so.
It's good. Listen, you get out of prison, and I mean everything that everybody out here bitches about. I love it out here. Like there's other than just the insanity of just people are just kind of idiots. Like life is good out here. At its worst, it's pretty good. It's like, it's like pizza. Even bad pizza is pretty good. And that's,
even with pineapple on it.
Yeah, I love pineapple. I love Hawaiian pizza, right? Remember that came out?
Oh yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. As long as we can keep like the innocent until proven guilty, I think we'll be okay. Although what's happening to Russell Brand right now, like he hasn't been proven guilty of anything. I'm not saying that he did or didn't. I don't know, but
just
like
an accusation.
Demonetizing him. I can't remember the country. I want to say it was England. One of these countries actually tried to get him demonetized on Rumble. They said, hey, we kind of suggest that, you really want people like this on your platform generating income. He's just been accused.
Yeah. That's what's amazing is that all you need is an accusation. And people will blatantly lie. People have no problem just blatantly lying just because they think, oh, well, I'm justified. You're justified? Like, that's not justified. That's disgusting. Like, the person that is accused of that, and the problem is there's never any recourse. It's like that guy, remember the high school student that was accused of rape? Some girl accused him of rape. He went to prison for rape, and then he got out, And when he got out, she actually hit him up on Facebook.
Wow.
And admits on Facebook she made it up.
And so what? There is no recourse for that?
No. So she did it. She said she did it so they could sue the school board because she had seen where another girl tried to sue the school board, but the rape happened off of school, outside of school. So she knew she had to say that it happened in school. So she came up with a scenario where she said that they got into an elevator and he attacked her or whatever in school, on school grounds, and she knew to say that, and she accused him. So he then was like, look, it's not a big deal, it's over, I want to move on. And so she's flirting with, she's like, plus you were the high school, like you were a big time star, and and I knew I'd get some cachet from that. So he plays up to her, gets her to come over, and brings the conversation up again, but this time he videos it.
Wow, yeah.
So it ends up getting expunged, right? Like he brings it back and shows the videotape, and he gets his criminal record expunged. But he also did like 7 to 10 years.
Yeah,
or something like that. And she gets nothing, by the way. Nothing happens to her.
Just from beginning to end, we're talking about incentive structures.
Yeah,
and like you cannot be falsely accusing, because you know what that does also. It's the boy who cried wolf, or in this case, the girl who cried wolf.
Right.
The more time you're crying wolf, people start to not even regard the actual real crime that's happening. Rape, horrible, horrible, horrible thing, right? But if everyone over here is saying rape, 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 and it's not rape, when it actually does happen, everyone's going to be, their ears going to be closed.
Right.
And that is, I mean, believe all women actually hurts women tremendously.
Yeah.
I think, shocking. Well, now that we've completely scared everyone.
So now that we're completely demonetized, like, I mean, we've mentioned rape. Like Colby's like, we've mentioned rape. He's going to be like, bleep, 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 bleep. Rape, child pornography, child trafficking, who knows what else, we can mention. Yeah.
Yeah,
you've done me a real favor here, by the way. Thank you for coming.
Well, I'm glad to be here to speak to the great Matt Cox, and hopefully we can, hopefully we're just raising alarm so that people are aware. That
Do you want to talk about anything for your channel?
I mean, all this stuff is like, listen.
But your channel is about entrepreneurs.
But listen, what I like to cover is disruption. Okay. How is the world being disrupted? And quite frankly, once I start going down the rabbit hole of AI and the implications of AI, it's clear to me that it changes every single life across the board, professionally, personally, and quite frankly, being aware of the new scams, I think, is really important to me. I know everyone is going to DM me and everyone's going to leave comments like, "Oh, Mark, that's old news. I already knew about it." Yeah, but there are people that don't know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that don't know.
Well, there's the comment section is, it's like Danny says, is a cesspool.
You know what's interesting to me? There's a lot of people that say they want to be like big YouTubers and whatnot. If you're not getting hate, you're not going hard enough.
I love that whatever meme or TikTok or whatever you call it is where the person says, look, if you're hating on me, but you're watching all my stuff, you're a fan.
Right.
That's true. Like, I got people in the comment section that almost every single video say something negative.
Yeah.
You're watching the videos, though. Like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah. And if people aren't upset by what you're saying, you're probably not.
Right. Yeah, you have to be offending somebody.
You have to. Yeah, you have to be. And it's not because I go out with the intent of offending people.
Yeah, some people are just going to be offended no matter what you say.
You could be offended about anything. I could see your chair over and be like, man, my dad fell and broke his back in a chair.
Listen, I used to have Trump paintings up here.
Oh, he's not offensive.
Listen, people would go nuts. Yeah. I'm unsubscribing. I was like, oh my God. Jessica Kent came. She's like, could you take the Trump painting down? I was like, of course, no problem. I took it down. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's a big seller. I'm good. But yeah, people will get offended about anything. People will be offended because of what the conversation part of the conversation we just had. They'll be offended by it.
Oh, for sure.
Just because just because I said, look, those people are victims at one point. You scumbag! The truth offends people at for some reason. I don't get it.
Yeah, I still, just like you said though, I hold at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's happened to you. What matters is what are the actions that you've taken. And
no, that's what I'm saying. It's like, look, I get it, but now you're a monster. Like it's like a serial killer. It's like, okay, well, I had a bad childhood and I get it and I feel for you and I'm sorry, but you're cutting people's heads off. Like, it's not right. Yeah. You can't be doing that. What are you doing? You got to go to prison. No, you don't understand. My mom was mean to me and I feel for you. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Bad mom. You did cut off 12 people's heads.
Life is, at the end of the day, life is suffering. Everyone has something.
Right.
It's like whenever you walk into a big room, you're always worried about that when you get that insecure feeling. I know that every single other person in the room has something.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, my hair is not right. I've got some gray hair coming in. Nobody cares. Like, I don't know. I was talking to someone the other day who was launching a podcast and she's like, do you have any advice for me? And I'm saying, big piece of advice. If you're doing your job right, based on what you want to do, you want to have a big show, you want people to follow you, based on your goals, just be aware that people are they're going to piss on you. People are not, they're going to get angry. They're going to send you hate. You got to be ready now because I was telling this to my daughter my daughter got a bad grade on a test and she made this comment. She said, I'm so stupid. She's 7. I said, stop it. Stop it right there. I could take her into the bathroom. I said, look in the mirror. And I said, I want you to say this after me. I am great. I am powerful. I'm a bad mamma jamma. And at first she was laughing. She's like, right. Oh, yeah, that's funny. And I said it again. And I said it again. And then she started to say it with me. And because if there's one thing I can do with my daughter, it's instill that sense of self-confidence. Because the world, especially this world that we're looking at, is going to dump on you all day, every day.
Yeah.
And if you're not strong in here, you're gonna be dead. You're gonna be weak, and I don't want that for her. I don't want that for my kids. No.
Yeah, I was gonna say the podcast thing. Yeah, it's rough, but the great thing about even if you put out a shitty, even if your first 6 months of podcast are just dog shit, nobody's watching. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like, what does it matter? Nobody's watching. You're gonna shoot the link to 15 of your friends. You're gonna ask them to share the link. They're not going to. You're gonna know that they didn't because you're gonna know that they didn't because you're only gonna get 20 views.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So your 15 friends, only a couple of them even sent it anywhere.
Right.
So then nobody watched it. Nobody's watching. Your friends aren't even gonna watch it. So the truth is, you can be as bad as you want, and if you start it and you're horrible, you got to look at that as actually a good thing. Because then if you can go all the way back to the first videos that I did and you can see the progression. And people want that. If you do end up being successful, then leave those old fucked up videos up.
Hell yeah.
Because they'll go back, they'll be like, oh man, you could, look at this one, you kept looking at your notes. Look at this one, look at all the edits. They're horrible, bro. You don't know what you're doing. Look at that. That's great. That's fine. Like, that's okay. People want to root for you. They want to see that you get better over time.
Yeah.
So put them up. The biggest thing is to put them up, right? Even if they're shitty, put up the shitty videos.
Yeah, when I look at my stuff from even a year ago, I'm like, wow, I sucked.
Right.
I sucked. I just got better over time. But, I think, and I was talking to Patrick Bet-David about this, how do you grow a big show? How do you grow a big following? He's like, you got to be noisy. You got to be willing and ready to take some hard lines, take some stances that are going to make people angry. Because if you don't go, because that's what gets people interested is, wow, Mark just brought some heat. Matt just said something that I disagree with. That actually pissed me off. Because you know what I find is people are more likely to leave a comment. They're more likely to share if you say something that makes them angry. If they're like, oh yeah, I agree with that, they're just going to move on. But if they're like, F Matt, I can't believe he would say this. And then they're more likely to share and you're more likely to catch fire. And
the problem is that I know there's lots of people out there that surround themselves by yes men. And they don't want to have anybody that disagrees. But I mean, that's almost everybody that ever failed really big. It's because they're surrounding themselves by yes men.
Yeah,
it's a mistake. It's a mistake to surround yourself by. I only surround myself by like-minded people. That's a mistake. How are you ever gonna be challenged or grow? I have a buddy, Zach. Listen, well, I don't think we agree on fraud. We'll talk about scams. I disagree on probably every political, his political ideology. I completely disagree. Every issue I disagree with. I'm not going to not be friends with them. I'm not going to not have conversations with them. I enjoy those conversations with the other person. You know, he mocks me, I mock him. We go back and forth, back and forth. Like, it's comical, it's funny. I'm not going to be offended by it, but I also feel like I get smarter. I don't get smarter when it's me and 3 other people and we're all like saying the exact same 100%. Thing. What is you're not? Then you're not.
Those aren't
growing.
real friends, honestly.
Yeah, but you're not growing.
Right.
Like, you're not growing. No, I'm saying they're friends if we all have the same the same opinion. You can have that, but you know, we can be friends. But the truth is, like, not if they're just agreeing to agree.
Yeah, I think they're just lying to you then, because nobody agrees on everything.
Well, yeah, I know.
You know,
but yeah, I mean, I just think that's how those good conversations back and forth is how you learn about stuff.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and that's why you should never date an AI bot, because it's only going to tell you.
At some point, it will mislead you, and it will
ask for your credit card number.
Could you imagine? At some point, it will. Imagine when they get smart enough to have a difference of opinion, just to create a personality and say, "Oh, I disagree," and this and that, and then you really would be fooled. You'd never be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Or they lie or mislead you, or man, it's gonna be bad.
The dystopian future is here.
I'll be dead by then, though. I don't have that much time. I don't have that much time. I'm 54. I don't know.
My prediction, you're halfway. You're only halfway.
No way. Man. Could you imagine living to 100? Like, that would suck. Like, it becomes a quality of life issue.
I don't know, man.
Unless they're going to be able to give you drugs to make you feel great.
Pretty soon they're going to have Neuralink. You're going to have robot legs, robot arms. You're going to be slam dunking at 90.
I wouldn't mind having a robot body. You know, like if you were like super, like, oh, you could just go forever.
That's happening. Matt, thanks for being so gracious today, man. I just loved jamming with you on the show. Like, I feel like we could just go for hours, man.
Yeah. I feel like we covered barely anything and yet touched on pretty much everything.
Yeah, man. Flip it up.
AI related.
Yeah.